Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have guest Joy Rachelle. She is a channeler and transformational healer. She channels inner earth people. It's a subject actually I've been interested in for a long time is inner earth. And I've read a lot about it, but I can't say I know a lot about it. So I'd love to talk about her insights about inner earth. You know, she's channeling beings from inner earth and also star beings. We've had people talk about star beings tonight, so you know, I've had other channelers on star beings, inner earth. How do they relate? I want to know. We're going to talk to her about that tonight, and we're going to get into who she is. We will open up the phone lines so you can ask your questions as well, or share your own experiences. Have you ever tried to channel before? I'd love to hear about it. And we have a lot to get to in the World Wide Web of Weird. Always, Rob will be running that. And I will take your phone calls after the second commercial break. Like I said, we'll get those phone lines out later, but let's go ahead and get rolling into the show. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight's guest, Joy Rachelle, will be joining us after the World Wide Web of Weird. And like I said, we will take phone calls later in the show. I want to thank you. I got a couple new Patreons out there. I want to thank everybody who does subscribe to us on Facebook and YouTube, but especially those on Patreon. $2 a month helps pay the bills. If you go check us out, Paranormal Soup does help pay for all this on StreamYard. It's not free, but it does cost a ton of money, but your money does help pay for that. So thank you to those who do. All right, joining me is my beautiful co-host, Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Excited for tonight's guest?
Very excited about the conversation tonight. It's going to be interesting.
I don't know what. My voice is suddenly like on hoarse on me for some reason. I sound like crap. I can hear my voice. I'm like, what's going on? It was just fine a second ago. I go on a show live and I sound like crap. We were just talking about channeling last week, with our guest. And I didn't knock channeling. I kind of just said, it's something that would scare me. I believe it's powerful, but I don't know if if I had the ability, if I'd want to channel. Like, it seems a little too close, too personal. To have something channeling through you. I don't know. It kind of freaked me out, the little experience I had. Joining from St. Augustine, Florida, somebody who doesn't freak out easily is Rob Autry himself. How you doing tonight, Rob?
Doing fantabulous.
Ready for some weird? We ran through it before the show, but we definitely got some weird in there. Some weird. I do have a couple at the end. There's some PSAs, paranormal statements. We'll get to that, but we got a lot of weird to get to. So let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, I thought I would start off with a story we've kind of covered before, but it's happened again. At LAX, another pilot has spotted a flying person with a jetpack. This is from Unexplained Mysteries. LAX jetpack mystery deepens further still. For those listening on our Paranormal Soup radio network, we are a webcast. We do show videos and pictures and stuff, but I will narrate as best as possible. Like I said, starting out tonight, we're revisiting this story because it's happened again. For the second time, pilots have witnessed a jetpack flying at altitudes over Los Angeles International Airport. Back at the beginning of September, it was reported that pilots of an American flight in 1997 witnessed what they believed to be a guy in a jetpack 300 yards off their wing and 3,000 feet up in the air. The presence of something of this nature, especially at such a height and within a vicinity of a major national airport, sparked a great deal of debate at that time. However, no explanation for the sighting was ever found, and nobody came forward to identify themselves as the culprit. Now, less than 2 months on from the incident, a China Airlines crew has reported another sighting of a jetpack over this same area, this time flying at 6,000 feet around 7 miles northwest of LAX. What makes the phenomenon so strange is that jetpacks will typically make a large amount of noise and be fairly noticeable, yet nobody on the ground seem to have seen or heard anything. Both the FAA and the FBI are now investigating the sightings. Could someone be testing out a sophisticated jetpack over Los Angeles, or is this whole thing an elaborate prank, perhaps involving a mannequin strapped to a drone? Well, I never thought of that. Could it be a prank? They just strapping a mannequin to a drone and flying it up there? That'd be an awful prank. It's still dangerous. Even if it's a prank, it's dangerous because they're going up in international airspace. It'd be an expensive drone. If it's not a jetpack, it's an expensive drone. Be going 3,000 feet up. That'd be very expensive. That'd be military grade drone.
And highly illegal.
Yeah.
The first story, they made eye contact with the guy. Like, he came up and looked at him and made eye contact with the guy.
I think there was something like that. Yeah, like he turned and looked at him or something in the plane. Yeah. Gave him the salute. I know. That's what I picture in my head as I'm flying up and giving him the salute, like Superman did. I don't know.
Got the gray poop on.
I'm sure the pilot should be giving the finger like, dude, you're scaring the crap out of us.
It's probably one of those leftover Tesla employees that, just had some crazy craft work laying around that they threw together.
I think isn't that the kind of the plot line to the Rocketeer, that awful?
I think so.
Movie. All right, let's move on. Pilots have enough to be worried about with jetpacks flying up in the air, but they got to worry about UFOs now too, or they have been before jetpacks. So now that they got those both to worry about. This comes from UFO sightings hotspot blogspot.com. The sky around the world. These objects remain in the sky for a while before disappearing. Now a pilot noticed such a bright light in the sky over Iowa, flying this is from the pilot, my personal airplane across the country on October 8th, 2020. Thursday was day 3 and final day of the trip. I took about 400 hours. I took off at 400 hours. I was over Iowa. After apparently 30 minutes into the flight, I noticed a stationary light in the sky. Too low to be a star, no blinking lights. It seemed it remained constant distance from my craft to the front and high. As dawn arrived and the sun broke from the horizon, the light seemed to get lower in the sky. I was at 5,500 feet. It may have been 10,000 feet to my front by several miles away. As the sun rose, the light was gone in an instant. MUFON case 11111802. Go ahead and play this. Loud.
Yeah.
It's way loud.
Thought it was.
Yeah.
Really wasn't.
Yeah. You can hear they're playing. That's how noisy it is. There's gonna be a zoom in of this. This is weird. I don't know. I'm not an aircraft expert, or we don't know what it looked like up in a plane. I've never been up in a plane at night like that. I mean, on a jet I have, but I didn't really look out the window because I was scared I was going to relive the Twilight Zone episode with William Shatner.
But man on the wing.
Yeah. But it's weird again, like how it's. I don't know if that's just the camera, not being able to focus in on it. It looks like the way it does, like that round total disc shape. This is like he said, 3,000 feet up, 10,000 feet up, 6,000 feet up.
Space
up there. Well, they say Bob Lazar's reports on what the UFO technology is that it kind of has to to go out into space. You'll see it flip up like that. Like it's got a point. like when it goes into like whatever it's delta formation or whatever with its engines, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it like has to flip like that. Like that ship is like something getting ready to go out in space, but it seems like he looked at it for a long time. I don't know. A little suspect to me that it kind of just fades away when the sun comes up. Like he wasn't just seeing something else out in the distance. I don't know. I'm not a pilot. But more people to be worried about at airports, you know, and now you got drones, UFOs. We got another one from singular14.com. USPS employee reports 7-foot tall red-eyed creature at O'Hare International Airport. Why is it always something around that area? Now, I have stated my suspicions sometimes of these stories that come from, you know, Phantoms and Monsters, Singular 14. I'm not saying that they're doing it or writing it up purposely, but, you know, people know you make these stories. They want to make up a story and give it to you. Well, they know where to go. I don't know. Any of this verifiable? I don't know. Manuel Navarrete of UFO Clearinghouse recently received the following report from a woman who said she'd seen a 7-foot tall red-eyed creature leaving work at the United States Postal Service sorting facility in Chicago's O'Hare International Airport around 11 p.m. on Thursday, September 24th. I had just left work at the USPS sorting facility at O'Hare Airport around 11 p.m. on Thursday, the 24th of September, and was walking out to my car when I saw something standing at the far end of the parking lot where I usually park. At first, I thought it was a very tall person with a long coat. As I got closer to my car, I unlocked my car, which caused my headlights to come on. My headlights hit the person standing about 20 to 25 feet from my car, causing it to turn and look right at me. I saw that this was not some person, but some red-eyed creature, and what appeared to be a coat were actually wings, which spread out and turned to look at me. At first, I thought it was some kind of very, very large bird, but I never seen any bird that stood almost 7 feet tall. I'm 5'4", and this thing looked taller than me by at least 2 feet. This thing then started making some type of chirping sound, almost a half chirp, half click, like someone was clicking their tongue, but much, much faster. It made some type of screeching sound and took off running towards me. It got to within 10 feet of me, and I took off in the air and flew above me. I was screaming hysterically as I crouched down behind my car's open door and dived in my car head first. I was near panic as I started to start the car, close and lock the doors and turn on my interior lights. I started my car and took off out of the parking lot and flew down the road till I hit the main road. Got home and told my husband, who was also at work at the same facility. He was the one who told me about the sightings of this thing. I was scared. We'll bleep that. And I hope I never see this thing again. This thing is roaming around the area, scaring people half to death. I hope the airport people decide to do something about this thing someday. Never was able to meet with the witness to discuss her sighting, although she was at first reluctant to discuss the issue after initial report. According to Navarrete, the witness is a 17-year veteran in the USPS and has worked at the O'Hare sorting facility for 15 years. She advised that one night in question, she was walking towards her car after her shift had ended, was checking her text messages on her phone. She made the familiar walk to her vehicle, asked her if there were other people around, to which she answered no, as most of the other employees leave right after shift change and usually stick around to take care of the transition. There's a lot more to this article, but that's basically the sighting. You can find it at singular14.com. You know, we keep getting these reports of these strange creatures in this area, especially O'Hare Airport. And the famous UFO sighting in the O'Hare Airport. Why O'Hare Airport? You know, what's going on there?
Interesting. Maybe there's more going on there than we know.
I don't know.
Maybe he's waiting for his mothership to come back.
Is O'Hare? They say they use airports as like secret underground bases under airports. Like, you know, but I doubt that with O'Hare. I don't know anybody been there. I don't know. I don't know.
The sorting destination.
It always makes me uncomfortable when it's like the Mothman like sightings, though. You know, especially around Chicago. What's going to happen? I don't know.
Yeah, isn't it like they see the Mothman and then there's some like, you know, big devastation.
But they've been seeing it now for so long that I'm kind of like, yeah, you know, if it's like a couple weeks before the devastation, then I'm like buying into it, you know. But if it's been happening for years, it's like, okay, you're just waiting around because of all the violence in Chicago, aren't you, Mothman? You're just like, well, it's Chicago, something's going to go down. I'm just going to wait around till it does. Keep making some sightings, you know. It seems like the way he opens up his wings and shows himself to people, he's almost like you know, one of those guys in the trench coat go around naked and go, look at me.
Look at it.
I don't know. All right, let's move on. Jamie shared this the other day on her timeline. U.S. and 7 other countries signed NASA Artemis Accords that set rules for exploring the moon. I don't know anybody saw that horrible TV show. I watched it. It was funny. I actually admit it was, some parts were funny and some parts were like, okay, you totally make this totally political. Was that Space Force on Netflix? But they have like this whole little war, not to ruin it for you, with like a really stupid kind of war, like pranking each other with China on the moon. It makes you wonder the show does make you wonder what's going to happen when we both have bases up there, Today, NASA announced that 8 countries, including the United States, have signed an international agreement known as Artemis Accords, forming what NASA calls a broad and diverse coalition of nations committed to standardized lunar exploration. NASA announced its intention to create Artemis Accords back in May after working with the U.S. Department and the National Space Council to come with a way to draft a set of rules for exploring the moon. Document's name refers to NASA's Artemis program, an ambitious initiative that aims to send the first woman and the next man to the moon. NASA hopes to partner with multiple countries for the program, and the agency created the Artemis Accords to ensure that other nations could agree on the best practices for sending robots and people to the lunar surface. NASA released the draft of the Accords to other spacefaring countries, and after getting their input, the agency came with a final document, which includes standards for things like lunar mining and how to handle conflicts on the moon's surface. NASA Administrator Jim Birdstein says the main goal is to get everyone on the same page about lunar exploration and head off any future international misunderstandings or conflicts. We think about the Artemis Accords. What we're trying to do is establish norms of behavior that every nation can agree to. Well, let's hope they do, because what happens in that stupid show? The Space Force is going to land in this spot on the moon. And of course, China goes and lands there first, and our whole mission's based on landing in that spot. Then they get a big fight. That could happen.
Man gets out.
Yeah. Or in USA says you can't land on this area because we already know aliens exist there and we're partnered up with them. I don't know.
I think there's something happening on the moon.
Well, how I felt like about that, and that's why maybe they're they got to take their time getting back there. I don't know.
Yeah, there's some fishery going on.
It still bugs me every time I see people share the Buzz Aldrin thing where he's talking to the little girl and they're like, see, it's proof that we didn't go to the moon. I'm like, no, I listened to that interview. It's not him saying we didn't go to the moon. Yeah. He thinks he knows why we never went back. And because of, he goes, you know why? Aliens. But he's not saying we never went.
Yeah.
But I still people sharing it go, look, he's saying we never went to the moon. I'm like, no, that's not what he said. And he punched a guy for accusing them for never going to the moon. So I doubt he's going to come out to an 8-year-old girl.
Yeah.
He really punched a guy in the face. Go look it up.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
He was quite a cantankerous old coot.
The best is watching when Donald Trump's talking about Space Force or whatever, and Buzz Aldrin standing back behind him, like look at it. Sorry, I'm not trying to get political. But speaking of Trump acknowledges UFOs, threatens aliens with military action. Yeah, you heard that. President Donald Trump, when asked about the new Pentagon task force for studying UFOs, replied that he would look into it and then began boasting about the power of the U.S. military. Some observers saw this as Trump touting his funding of the Department of Defense, while others saw it as a threat to extraterrestrial beings. I would love to know what people thought if they heard this. If it was, was it just him, because, Trump will answer questions. I'm not downing Trump. This is just how he talks. He will answer questions if stuff he doesn't really know a lot about we're looking into that. We're looking into that. He'll say, we're looking into that. We're going to get right down to that. I have no idea what you're talking about, but we're going to look right into that, or I really don't know anything hardly about this subject. So I'm just saying, yeah, it's really interesting. We're going to look into that. In the interview on Sunday, Fox News anchor Maria Batterino asked Trump, can you explain why the Department of Defense has set up a UFO task force? Are there UFOs? Well, I'm going to have to check on that, Trump replied. I've heard that. I heard that 2 days ago. So I'll check on that. I'll take a good, strong look at that. How many times have you heard him say that about a subject he has no idea about? Trump then went on to talk about the U.S. military. I will tell you this. We have now created a military, the likes of which we have never had before. I'm not going to do it a Trump impression. I am horrible at it. In terms of equipment, the equipment we have, the weapons we have, and hope to God we never have to use it, but have created a military, the likes of which nobody has ever had. Russia, China, they're all envious of what we had. All built in the USA. We've rebuilt it all. $2.5 trillion. As far as the other question, I'll check in on that. I heard about it 2 days ago, actually. He repeats what he said before.
Yeah.
I don't know if we really can read much into this. I will say it is interesting. He goes right to the military thing. I will say I will take note. It is interesting. He goes right to the military thing with that. Is that him just trying to get another political talking point in? Or is that like, hey, I can't say much about that, but we got a really good military.
Yeah.
Really good. Because aliens are coming.
I think he knows more about it than what he wants to say. And I think maybe Yeah, we'll have to look into that. By the way, I like change the subject a little bit, but
Well, that's what he does.
I think he knows more than what he's saying. For some
I think
reason.
the most interesting, this was interesting. He went to the military, but the most interesting was the Father's Day interview he did with Don Jr.
Yeah.
And he's like, Roswell, yeah, what happened to Roswell? It's like somebody just told him the word Roswell like 2 minutes ago. yeah, aliens at Roswell, Trump. Remember that? Oh yeah, I think I heard about that. See, my impression sucks. But he just kept on saying, yeah, Roswell. Yeah, Roswell happened in 1947, but there's been a lot that's happened since.
Yeah.
I want to know more than just what happened to Roswell.
They came from China.
That's the thing, though, that, with disclosure, this is like a miniature disclosure movement kind of happen. It can't be miniature. It's go home or go all. Once the ball starts rolling, once there's a minutes to this being a real thing and phenomenon, that ball just starts rolling and more questions need to be answered. And we'll see what happens. But we're too caught up with a bunch of other stupid crap right now. All right, let's move on. Since it's Halloween, I get the last 2 articles about some ghost stuff. Of course, this is more like a personal PSA here on Ring door cameras, because I'm getting a number of people sending me stuff they got in their Ring cameras. When this one actually becomes a news story on Coast to Coast and other sites as a dark shadowy figure walks through on a person's Ring cam. Now they have a bunch of different stories. I'll read it to you first, and then we'll let you make your judgments as you watch the video. But I already made my judgment. I'm sorry. Eerie piece of footage captured. This is from Coast to Coast. Captured by a home security camera shows a puzzling shadowy form that the homeowner suspects could be some kind of sinister entity. The odd video was reportedly filmed earlier this month outside of a house in an unnamed community in New York at 3:30 in the morning. In the footage, a dark shadowy suddenly appears at the edge of the lawn and undulates. I love how this just undulates across the grass before disappearing off camera. According to the homeowner, the nature of the shadow is of some dispute as a family. He suspected it could be of a ghost of a girl in their neighborhood who has passed away, but his relatives suggested it was something because they were claimed to have smelled sulfur throughout the house following the day. I think it was just somebody farting. Their assessment would be based on previous incidents in which the man allegedly found his son cowering under his bed after what he said was an encounter with a shadowy man that was strangling and hurting him. Now, could this be true? Could these people going through this? Cool. Not cool. It could be happening. They could be going through all this stuff, but what they caught here, I really just don't think is a shadowy figure. Go ahead and play this.
Yeah, right in here.
Yeah. I want that. Yeah, turn it off. So you're gonna see it's coming through. It's undulating. Whatever words. It's like they see the Ring cameras are gonna give corny news stations and Coast to Coast plenty of fodder for the Halloween time. Look, we got another shadow person caught on a Ring camera. It's a bug. It is such a bug. You can zoom in and see it. It's totally a bug.
Yeah.
Undulating, it means it crawled. Yeah. See, what it is like if the bug's outside the IR light, it'll glow. It'll glow really bright. But this bug's right on the lens or around the lens where the IR light isn't. It's probably got an outside IR light around it. And it's crawling right on the camera where it's not, the IR light's not hitting it. So it's totally black, but it's crawling. It's a bug. But we're going to get all these stories now. So if you have Ring cameras, just remember there could be a lot of logical explanations to things you see in your Ring camera. Now if it's a full like translucent body walking through, now we need to talk. But if it's something like this, it's probably a bug.
Yep.
I'm just saying, you can see the wings. It's a bug.
There's
going to be a ton of that. Now it's just, now everybody's got cameras galore. I'm talking about getting Ring cameras. I want to get it, but
yeah, I want to get some sort of cameras here.
I've seen some interesting Ring camera stuff. Definitely, that's come from people.
Yeah,
like the guy licking their doorbell. No.
Yeah, that was interesting.
All right, let's get this last one because we're going to run out of time. We've covered this one before, but 2 years ago, it was on that British show, The Morning, or This Morning guest. Remember, she had an engagement to a ghost. This morning guest who had wild sex with a ghost called Ray reveals their wedding is off after he turned to drugs. This morning, viewers were stunned today when a guest who was set to marry her ghost lover revealed she dumped the spirit. We played the video of her interview. I'm not going to replay that. Amethyst Realm, 32, what a name, boasted that she would and the visible fiance Ray had a red hot sex life and even shacked up on a plane toilet. Remember Mile High Club? But things went off the rails during a holiday trip to Thailand when she says the ghost turned to booze and drugs. I did not know ghosts could do booze and drugs. So she also claimed he fell in with a bad crowd in the spirit world and started bringing ethereal playmates back to their home. The psychic explained, I'm really trying to read this. We've called the wedding off. It was going really well until he went on holiday. He completely changed. I think maybe he fell in with a bad crowd when we were on holiday. He just started becoming really inconsiderate. He disappeared for long periods of time. He's a ghost. They kind of do that thing. They do disappear for long periods of time. You do realize this. All right. When he did come back,
ghosting.
Yeah. Yep. Right. He'd bring other spirits to the house and they just stay around for days. Did he try to talk you into a menage a trois with some other spirits? Is that what really happened?
That's what's going down.
Yeah, honey, I got the ghost of Jim Morrison here. You ready to light my fire? He disappeared for long periods of time. When he'd come back, he'd bring other spirits to the house and they just stay around for days. I think he started doing drugs and partying a bit too much. He used to come back and these spirits would stay for days at a time. There'd be crashing and banging and strange noises. Amethyst explained that the wedding witch was to be held in a cave. Being called off is particularly upsetting because her sister was going to be her bridesmaid.
Oh man,
you just took that away from her sister.
Of
course, many viewers were skeptical. I won't read all their comics. You can just imagine what people said about it. Amethyst and Ray last appeared on the show back in 2018. I was right. Dressed as a zombie circus ringmaster, the 56-year-old addressed his questions to the empty spot on sofa with Amethyst relaying answers. That's right. You did an interview with her. Relaying answers. But that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight's guest, Joy Rachelle, is going to join us after this commercial break, and we will open up phone lines later in the show. So hold your questions there. Of course, we'll try to get some into the chat room. Do you have something, Rob?
What is
All right, guys, we're going to go to this short commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Is encounters of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It's called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Certificate A. Now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The night is alive. Join us and take a walk on the weird side when you tune in to the Kingdom of Nye, hosted by Heather Wade, the finest in late night talk. Listen live free weeknights starting at 9 p.m. Pacific time at thekingdomofnye.com, talkstreamlive.com, and the Paranormal Radio app. Wanna take a ride?
The international chart-topping Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest, the true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
Do you like rock and roll? Do you enjoy a good story? Wish You Were Here, A Rock Fantasy, is a book inspired by Badfinger. It will not only entertain you, but intrigue you. What is it about? Well, Thomas is searching for his bandmate and friend in heaven, and in spirit has helped pen this story. He meets an old friend and famous new ones on his afterlife voyage. Midwest Book Review said, Wish You Were Here, A Rock Fantasy, is a book inspired by Badfinger. It's a quirky story by Joyce S. Isaacson and is unique, original, and deftly crafted metaphysical novel that showcases the author's genuine flair for character and narrative-driven entertainment that is simply riveting from first page to last. Wish You Were Here, A Rock Fantasy is now available on pennantpublication.com, amazon.com in paperback and hardcover, and also on Kindle Unlimited. So check it out now. Wish You Were Here, A Rock Fantasy.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe. 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Joy Rachelle. Joy Rachelle is here to help spiritual entrepreneurs create the global impact they desire. She's a leading transformational healer, an activator, a luminary and priestess, a channel for the inner earth people and intergalactic star beings, and she uses her gifts and wealth of credentials to help her clients expand their consciousness. Her work helps spiritual seekers find clarity, meaning, and guidance in their lives. Joy follows no more manual or modality. Her spiritual entourage guides her, and the results and experiences are out of this world. For many years, Joy felt unable to tap into her abilities, and seeking answers often just served to make her more confused and overwhelmed. What she hadn't realized, however, however, was that she was not only a psychic medium, as she had initially thought, rather she is a highly intuitive channel for spirits with a connection to spirit guides, angels, archangels, dragons, trees, fairies, mountains, and inner earth people and beings of the galactic star beings. She always had access to information she couldn't explain and has been able to understand her friends' and clients' symptoms without them having to tell her. She'd never known what the knowledge came from. Finally understanding the source of her gifts, it has been freeing. Now she knows why she has these experiences and energy and differently, and she uses these gifts to guide people towards self-actualizations. Joy's mission is to help her clients understand what their signature genius is and figure out how best to use it for their highest good of the planet and the universe. Her website is joyrachelle.com, and she has joyrachelle.com/soul alchemy activation. Is one of very interesting page you should check out. Like I said, we will take phone calls after the next commercial break, so just hold in there. We will take your calls, but let's go ahead and get to our guest. Bring our guest on here. How you doing tonight, Joy?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being on the show. Your first time on. I'd like for you to tell people, how this all started. Does this go back? I've had many psychics. I've had this all my life, or some people have like a midlife crisis and suddenly next thing you know, they're channeling inner earth people. How did this all happen for you?
Oh, well, when I was a child, I had the gift, looking back, but then I shut it down. So then it didn't really start to come back again until I would say about 5 years ago, when I would start to just have connections with angels and archangels and stuff like that to begin with. And then I believe it was last year I began doing this vocal sound healing, and I knew it was different than some of the sound healing that other people were doing, but I didn't quite know what it was, if I was channeling my ancient Lemurian self or what was really going on. And then I met another really galactic person in a group, and she mentored me for a little bit, and we discovered together that who I was channeling was inner earth person, which is actually my parallel life self, who's in inner earth right now, whose name is Annabelle. And so that's really where I really started to step into talking about and sharing about galactic star beings and inner earth people and beings in my work. And it really changed how I work with clients and how I offer things. So I hope that made sense.
No, well, what was, it's a big leap to go from everyday life to next thing you know, you're channeling inner earth people. What was your set of beliefs before that? What was it a dramatic shift in belief for you, or?
Let me think. I think I had been preparing for that over the last 4 years with first, the angels and the archangels and stuff like that. And then it was when it came to be that it was galactic star beings and inner earth people, and they're actually people, and and there are beings as well. At first it was kind of whoa, what? But then
did you believe in inner earth people before you started channeling them? Did you have a belief that there were people living in inner earth?
I had never heard of inner earth people or beings before. I obviously heard of galactic star beings like ETs, aliens and stuff like that. But the thought of inner earth people and beings was what? So what kind of helped me kind of wrap my head around that was I watched, there was a segment on it on the Gaia Network, on Inner Earth with, I think, David Wilcox in that. And so I watched one episode of that and I was okay, cool. This is real. And then I just went back into my own spiritual connection and intuition of just knowing that it was true, right? Like knowing within myself and like my whole being that it was right.
Well, there's an interesting concept. Like I'm not a big fan of David Wilcox. Okay. But
yeah, I've only seen him like the one time. So
yeah, well, no, but I mean, he covers a lot of fascinating topics, including Inner Earth. And, I've heard a lot of other people besides David Wilcox cover Inner Earth. And I, for myself, when you say you feel like in your inner that it's true, ever since I was a kid, I always felt like there was. But I can't piece apart my big sci-fi fascinations and the stuff I've read and watched. And I'm like, yeah, there could be a really good reason why I always felt innerly, yes, there really is Inner Earth, people. Because, I mean, I've watched all kinds of science fiction that has Inner Earth kind of stuff and like hints to it, all that. I've been fascinated by it. But for you, I mean, that's got to be a leap of faith to like, okay, I'm channeling Inner Earth people.
Yeah, it really was. It was really just me just sitting with this knowing and this like and connecting with especially like that parallel life self of myself, and really just connecting and channeling information, right? Like because like that's one of my big things is like I'm a channeler, and so I receive information, and sometimes like the information that I receive, I'm just like, wow, like how could I possibly have known that before? Right. So
Right.
it has to be like true for me. Right. So
Right.
that's how I kind of
Let's go back to how this started with the channeling. What was this that you were being taught? Talk about that. I'm trying to remember the name of what you called the vocal.
Oh yeah, vocal sound healing.
Vocal sound healing, yeah.
Yeah, so I was doing like vocal sound healing. I was just like really playing with it like a lot last
What is
year. So I would start with like I started with like light language with it would just appear I would just like speak light language. I don't think it's going to come out right now.
It's all right. I know.
Yeah.
Is it similar to speaking in tongues? I mean, is it very similar?
Yeah,
to that?
it would probably be similar to that. And
I
then like
experienced that once in my life. I was brought from some very Christian friends that left their church. They were because the church that they were at in Texas did not accept speaking in tongues, and their mother just started doing it, and they got kicked out. She's opened up, couldn't control herself, started doing it in the middle of the church. They kicked them out of the church, and they moved up here because they were so shunned in their community for it, and joined a church that accepted it here. And I got to witness it, and I'm not a Christian, but I thought it was very interesting. And I believe these people believed it. They believed that they were channeling something.
Yeah. And so that's kind of like what happens. And then I started like doing like kind of like a ooh, like different like vocal sounds would come out of my mouth like that.
Yeah.
And that's essentially like what it is that I do now, which I call Inner Earth Enchantment, which is just a vocal sound healing that I'm channeling through the various beings that I channel to create that healing and the activations and stuff that I do with that work that I do.
It reminds me of too is like I was my mom's Buddhist, and I've always was fascinated with the Buddhist religions, what the Tibetans believed in, and a lot of the mantras and chants they would do, like, or even if you look at Christian monks and the way they would look at chanting, like the cause an altered state through sound coming through their bodies, and I mean, there's that, and there's belief systems in Hinduism that have some of that too.
Yeah, so it's like it's not new information. It's not new stuff that's coming through. It's just people will still have that skepticism. I can't say the word skepticism. Yeah, about what they believe is true and what they believe is not true, and so it's just.
Well, you need skepticism. You don't want to just, like, I am a channeler. Believe me, everything coming through me is real. I mean, you do have to have somebody question you in a sense. You don't want people to just blindly follow you either.
No. And I question myself as well. Like
I would bet, yeah.
I thought like before, like I became like a energy healer and, like calling myself a psychic medium, like back in like, I don't know, like 2016 and that.
Yeah.
That was like a really big leap for me because like I had grown up with like my dad and everyone being like, like you go to like the fair or whatever and they'd be like the psychic and they'd be like, oh, what a quack, right? Like they're just taking your money and they're just trying to tell you that they tell your fortune or whatever, but they're just like scam artists, right? And so I was very skeptical, like myself, when it like when like throughout my journey as well.
Yeah.
Just kind of being like, what?
Well, what makes me, I've never channeled inner earth people, or or channeled aliens as far as I know, but I believe in the ability. We were talking about it last week with a guest who was a medium and a spiritual healer. And we were talking about channeling, and she didn't do channeling, but I brought up the fact that what creeped me out the most, one of my weirdest experiences, is the time I was holding, I was doing psychometry, and now knowing what it is, but I was holding a picture of a person who was deceased in the picture, in a casket, didn't know their name. And I wasn't trying to, but suddenly I blurted out their first name. I didn't know why I was talking, why it came out my mouth. And then when I tried, I could hear their last name. But that first moment where it made me just talk without thinking freaked me out. Because I had instant knowing about this spirit. Like, I had instant knowing. I knew he was an alcoholic. I knew that he had left and hidden away his old World War II stuff in the house, and the family never took it with, and it was still there. And 2 weeks later, the guy's girlfriend found it. Like, all that scared the living heck out of me. I've never done that again. I wasn't trying to. I did go in this house with my wife setting me up because they wanted to see if I knew it was haunted, because I do have this sense, even though I try not to use it as a paranormal investigator, but I do have a sense when a house is haunted. And as soon as we walked in, they were just supposed to be going to hang out with her girlfriend's new boyfriend. As soon as I walk in the house, I'm like, it's haunted. And they're like, oh, he knows.
Yeah.
But it's one thing to be like, feel it, and another thing to have something totally take you over and make you talk. To me, that's a bit personal.
Yeah. And like the way that I channel, and the way that I'm like teaching people how to channel in this like new age, new paradigm type way, is that like when I step into my channeling, it's like I still have like this conscious awareness that I'm like in the background, like, but like I kind of like know like what's coming through and like who's coming through me, like and that it's okay type of a thing, like have a connection with my higher self. And so I just kind of like get like a prior approval from like my higher self, so that like when I'm channeling and what I'm channeling is like pure and like of like high integrity, and with like beings that are like that have like good intentions, right? Because like what I teach a lot in like courses and with clients and stuff is that yes, you can have a channeling ability and all of like these psychic abilities and stuff, but like you can either open the door or close the door and accept people to come in or beings to come in to work with you. And not every being who tries to contact you has the best intentions for you or for like anybody else that the message is for, which a lot of people actually aren't doing. They're just going, oh, I channeled this information, I'm going to share it all over the World Wide Web. And then it's like, lots of different feelings with those messages.
Fake news from the spirit world. That's literally, we got fake news in reality, and you can't trust anybody. Well, you definitely can't trust the spirit world. Like, we do spirit box sessions. We're going to do it next Sunday is our Halloween show, and we're going to have live spirit boxes. People call in, but I always say, you don't know if you're talking to your loved one. There's signs, there's things they could say that they know. So maybe, but you definitely don't want to count on them telling you the future or anything else. You don't know who you're talking to. With a channel, it's a little more personal. Like, you should know who you're talking to. You're kind of blending with them, right? I mean,
because you're receiving information.
Is there a danger for people who try to get into this, to channel, and they don't know what they're doing? Is there a danger? I hate to go dark side on you, but just to get that out of the way.
There is. Especially if you don't know what you're doing and who you're contacting and who you're allowing to have access to, basically like your human body, right? To use as the conduit.
Yeah. I mean, you might have a bad time. You're gonna have a bad time, Yeah. Well, that's why I didn't go down that path, because I was scared of it. I don't have anybody to teach me how to channel or do even psychometry. I didn't want to. I had a dark shadow person experience at the age of 17 to 18 that tormented me, almost drove me to the brink. So I right off the bat, I've had the early on experience of bad negative entity. So I know they're real. So that's what threw me off when that happened to me later. I'm like, I don't want to get anywhere near close to anything channeling through me, possessing me, or anything like that because of what I went through. So that's why I'm very timid about it. You know, I've had this really full blown experiences like this, but I'm like not heading into it. Like going to be like, I'm the next John Edwards, you know, not doing it.
Yeah. And that's part of your free will, right? Is to be like, hey, I have this ability, but I don't want it. Like I'm going to step into doing like what you're doing right here, right? In fact, doing the normal stuff instead of being like, hey, I'm a channeler, because like I don't want to be that type of a thing. So yeah.
So I want to get into, you know, I've read about Inner Earth. You know, Admiral Byrd's story. I don't know if you're familiar with that, from early 1900s exploration of what is Antarctica. You know, the people talked about that for many years, that he found Inner Earth. There's a lot of different stories. I listened to our Bell for years. There's always some callers talking about trying to fly into Inner Earth. And, you know, I've been fascinated with it, but I totally don't understand how it works. Like, who's in Inner Earth? You know, who are they? Or, you know, we talking about aliens? We talking about other people? You know, what is Inner Earth?
Okay, so for me, like with my exploration into Inner Earth, is like my spirit team likes to limit the external material that I read so that I don't, I guess, kind of like in my human brain, like make other like different like conclusions as to like what it is I'm picking up or not. So the information that I've received is like mostly like purely from my parallel life self, Annabelle, and the beings that she's with. And so when we go into, and I'm talking about Inner Earth people, like this was a really hard concept for me to wrap my head around when this first came to me, was that they're actually people. And they are actually the very first original humans to planet Earth, or the original Lemurians. In March, I started to channel a book about the true history of planet Earth and how the Inner Earth people came to go into Inner Earth, and what the difference is between like an original Lemurian and like the Lemurian and Atlanteans that like we read about today, you know, like in history.
Speculate about, yeah.
But there are people there. There are I've connected many clients to like these like fox-like type beings. One of them was like a skunk-like type being, and then there are giants. I've seen giants down there, and so they're kind of like a Bigfoot.
I was gonna say Bigfoot, right?
Yeah, but there are some other like alien races that are down there, but I haven't had a lot of close contact with them specifically, and the work that I've done down in Inner Earth has mostly just been with like the Inner Earth people, the giants, and these like creature type beings that are like, you know, cat-like or skunk-like or like fox-like, is like how I can describe them, right, to my clients that I'm connecting them to, is that, hey, like this is a red and black being who looks like a skunk and their name is this, you know, like, and they're here to help you with this. So,
well, it could explain why the Egyptians and other cultures had half man, half human, or half man, half animal like creatures trying to describe something like this that they saw or channeled, maybe possibly. But you know, I've heard one of the creepier things is that there's reptilians down there, you know, like the snake people. Like I have a bad thing with reptiles and snakes. Sorry, Rob. He's a snake friend down there, not me. But you know, like there's all these other creatures. For one, what is the Inner Earth? I mean, is it like its own ecosystem? Like you fly into a big hole in the Antarctic and it takes you into a whole other world. Like I know you haven't really seen. You try to stay away from the fiction of it, but what is it? I mean, or is it just underground dugout bases? I mean, what are we talking?
From what I've seen like that it's like cave-like, but it's also like little like mini like forests, like
ecosystems. But
like ecosystems, and they have their own sun that they generate through their, I'm going to call it like their alien technology. You know, like,
well, it's
have,
interesting,
like, right?
Man, look what China's doing. They're trying to generate their own mini sun. There's a whole company there in China that's trying to make a miniature sun. I'm like, well, why? Why would you do that? Maybe because they're going to use it on the inner of the moon, or they're going to use it somewhere to power something or life somewhere else. I don't know, but maybe it's because they got some technology from inner Earth people, and they're trying to use it.
It's possible. They do have kids that are called, what are they called? They have like this group of kids in China that can like teleport.
I've heard these stories. I've heard these stories of these super children in China. I know, I've heard of it. It's one of those conspiracy theories. They have like super children, like they can do like amazing things like that. I'm sure America's got their own super children. I'm a big fan of Stephen King. Ever seen Firestarter? I've always thought that we probably have something like that where we've gathered up special abilities, the mutants. I don't know. People like it. If somebody could have like extraordinary abilities, then we were going to snatch them up and use them in some MK Ultra like project.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's like what my theory is on like all like the super movie like movies and like like books and series that like authors are just like it just came through me. Like I just wrote and wrote and wrote, and it's like that's probably because you had a past life where all of that stuff happened, and so it's just normal for you. You're just telling a story, right? Yeah. You're just like channeling a different sense, being a writer.
There's evidence to that. I mean, we've talked about it plenty of times on the show, and other shows have talked about it as the wreck of the Titan, and it being the Titanic. It was written about 3 years before the Titanic. An author wrote a book that basically is the Titanic sinking. Things like that. I mean, let's hope Stephen King's not channeling when he was doing The Stand. I mean, right now, not those scary movies. Let's hope Stephen King's not channeling anything, but I really worry that he is. Really worry that he is, but I think it's like Stephen King, he talks. I read his book on writing, and he says every story is like a fossil. It's already there. You just have to undig it. And I'm like, you might be channeling. You might be channeling. Let's hope there's not a Pennywise lurking in a sewer somewhere, but I wonder that because I've tried to write. I'm a horrible writer because I haven't finished a book, but I've tried to write. And there's some stories I came up with as a kid that later became blockbuster movies. Like The Matrix and Jurassic Park. I came up with those ideas when I was a little kid, and the next thing you know, boom, they're big movies. I don't know. Maybe they're just stories waiting to be found, or maybe they're parallel universe things that have happened that we're all just remembering. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's like what I learned from my mentor with like channeling, and that is like we all have access to sometimes like pulling from like the same information. It's like the day that everyone went to go put a patent on, it was like a satellite dish or something like that. It was like 50 some people or 100 and some people like went that same day to put like a patent on it. So it's like we all have access to
that happened early on in the 1900s. That happened early on in the 1900s with a lot of devices. When you look at there was two different people come up with the same thing for what do you call it? The sound thing. I can't think of it. The original, record player, whatever, making, there's two people came up with that. Tesla and another inventor came up with like the same ideas too at the same time. It's like they're tapping into some unconscious information that is just slowly being released us technology wise. I don't know.
And it's just like, who is going to actually like take action on that information and do something with it? Right. Because there are people who like get information and they're just like, oh yeah, this is just for me. And then they get mad at the people who actually like start to like earn money and stuff from it because they've actually like made a product or something with it. Right. So it's just like,
kind of how it works. You're going to make something, you make some money off of it. You put your time and energy and your channeling into it, So who are the inner, well, I should ask this first. Why you? Why channel through you?
Okay, this is kind of a complex question. Okay, let's see if we can simple it down. I'm here to be a channel for inner Earth and galactic star beings, but a lot of my work is to do with inner earth people and the inner earth energies and healing and everything that's down there, is to help bridge the gap between humans, inner earth, and galactic star beings, because a lot of people in the spiritual community are just all obsessed with like galactic star beings and like everything that's like out there, when it's really for the ascension of planet Earth and for the collective, we have to really bring in the energies of inner Earth and inner Earth people into our work. And so with my clients and following in that, that's like who I'm kind of like bringing in, are people who are basically willing to be like me and be like, okay, not really sure what inner Earth is, but I'm going to volunteer and like, yeah, I'll learn and like I'll get connected and I'll do something about it, right? Instead of just being like, oh yeah, inner Earth, that's cool, but then like never do anything about it because they're so scared to talk about it that they might sound like they're crazy because they're talking about people who are in inner Earth.
To be honest, inner Earth is like one step down before you're getting into flat Earth with some people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I definitely, we try not to knock on the flat Earthers, but you know what I'm saying? It starts to get into that territory with some people, the way they look at it. Like, well, you're crazy. We've proven the world has an inner structure to it. Well, not so fast. I mean, there's a lot of, I think our military definitely has a lot of inner Earth stuff going on. You know, I really think that's going on. I think, you know, the Cold War ushered that in. We've dug a lot of underground secret bases and tunnels and stuff. But who's to say we're not just redoing what other people did, you know, ancient civilizations already did in the past. But why did they never come back to the surface? Why stay below?
If they came up to the surface, we're not ready. Like, we're not ready as like human beings. Like, we're not even ready for like aliens to come down. You know, like there's so much speculation about, you know, like UFO.
We've already lost our minds. We've already lost our minds. They might as well just come up. We've already lost our damn minds. They might as well just come up now. I'm just saying, what do they got to lose? We've already lost our minds. Just might as well blow them completely.
It's just it's not really their time right now, and it's just like a safety factor of, you know, like what
would get shot.
Yeah, and like what would like governments and stuff do to them if, you know, like they're captured or whatnot.
Look at the story of Dulce, you know, and that story came out with the guy who supposedly killed himself. I totally lost his name at the moment. But his story of going down and they were digging an underground base, and then they accidentally tripped into a alien base under the ground, and things went pretty wild, where he had his fingers lasered off, and, you know, a bunch of people died. You know, that's the story that's been told for years. You know, makes you wonder, what does our military know, and what actions have they taken against, you know, beings underground, if there's bases underground?
Yeah, that'd be really interesting to figure. I haven't really tapped into any of that, so I'm like,
yeah. Well, you know,
information.
Well, that's the thing. You know, if aliens are here, I mean, we have people saying there's 72 different species here, 52 different species. I've heard it all. You know, and obviously, I mean, talking to people and the guests I've had, there's a lot of different kinds of aliens here. Well, are they just hanging out in space, or are they here on the planet? If they're here on the planet, where are they at? Well, either places they can hide, like under the ocean and oceanic bases, or underground. There'd be only a couple places for them to hide. Of course, I'm a big one on the moon. I think there's big bases on the moon. I really believe that. But, you know, the other places would be underground or in the deep oceans.
Yeah. Or kind of like pretending to be us, like the ones that can like clone us, I guess. Like they can look like they're human, but they're not human. It's kind of like something that you would see in the movies, right? It's like,
is that what the Men in Black are? Because you hear about the Men in Black stories of these guys showing up and they're not quite right. People describe them as, you know, their skin color is kind of weird or pale, and, you know, they act really weird. They don't move right. They don't talk right. You know, because that'd be some inner Earth people with playing some shenanigans.
Was those inner Earth people?
Or some one of the inner Earth species. Now,
yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Well, the inner Earth species that you channel now, are they human-like or what are they like?
They're human-like. I have a photo on my website in my banner with what Annabelle kind of like looks like, and so she's very human-like. She's just very like, she has bigger eyes, and her features are like more fine. It's like her head is like a human, but her eyes are bigger. But like her body is like thinner. Like it's like a delicate, like slenderness to them. Yeah. So they're very human-like, but you would definitely be able to tell, like, if they came up to the Earth, like, hey, there's something wrong with you, you know?
Well, what was it? The Hopis who had the ant people? Their stories alleged the Hopi Indians, I think. I might be wrong about that. One of the Indian tribes where they believe that the ant people, which, you know, if you had somebody that was thin, you know, like that, had a more of a little bit different head, bigger eyes, they might just say they look kind of like ant people. I don't know. Crab people. I don't know. But there's stories in ancient legend about people going down in the earth like the Native Americans had and being taken there by these other people, other creatures, you know, the ant people or whatever they were, and surviving underground during a great cataclysm.
Oh, wow.
And then coming back up. You know, there's stories like this throughout lots of different cultures. So there's a lot of evidence there, you know. I mean, UFOs have been seen so many times flying in and around or out of mountains. You know, mountains could be a great place for them to hide a secret base. So why, you said Annabelle, is that the name Annabelle?
Yeah.
What you call your so let's talk about her. Like, how do you have this connection with her? How is she like your parallel you?
Okay. I'm like, okay, slow down. I'm like, trying to see how to explain it. It's just, we're existing at the same time, but like she has been in inner Earth for obviously like a lot longer than I've been on planet Earth. And okay, what was the connection? It's just a part of my like soul mission imprint to channel her to bring through the inner Earth frequencies and the inner Earth like information. Yeah, so it's like a predetermined,
like before you came into this existence, like you made this choice to be her channel here.
Yeah, and to like be, and she's like a part of like my soul essence, like if that makes sense.
Or soul group, maybe.
Yeah, like part of my soul, like in my incarnation. Like we're two people, or two beings that exist at the same time.
Well, no, there's talk of that. You know, then they talk about, you know, souls reincarnate, and then at some point they split. Souls can split and incarnate into two different existences at the same time. You know, there's a lot of talk of that. You know, I've heard from different guests and reading all that that's something that's possible when you start getting into the realms of reincarnation. So is it something like that where you guys were once a one being, now split into two?
My take on that and what I've received from my spirit team is a little bit different than that. It's what I call our multidimensional selves, which is, it's like we're all existing at the same time. You know, like my version of me, my future version of myself, my past version of myself, in like all of my incarnations in all of the worlds, parallel worlds, multiverse, whatever, you know, that we get into.
Yeah.
We're all existing at like the same time. And so even though we're a parallel life self, we can exist at the same time.
Oh, I totally into that theory. You know, big Sliders fan. I love the whole idea of parallel universes, and there could be multiple of us, and that we have some connection to our other parallel selves. I've always wondered if a lot of the dreams we have, or I've had very dreams that have predicted like future things are going to happen, to me, like sometimes stupid stuff, like just no purpose to knowing it, but I dreamt it and then it happens. Is that some connection to a parallel version of me that saw this before I did? Time.
Or it's like a future
relative.
version of yourself that is bringing that into you, so that it's kind of like giving you like a warning of what's to happen. Yeah. So like when stuff like that happens to me, what I've started to do is to record things like that, and just like a little like journal type thing, because then it's like my self-validation that it's true for me. And so then when I work with clients, or am just talking like on Facebook or whatever, then like I have like this kind of like this like list of like backup that's like, hey, like how would I have known that this was going to happen? Like I got this message like 2 weeks ago and then this happened, types of information. So it's just like, I think it's just us receiving it from our future self, and then it's just kind of like being relayed back to us has something to like, that's important that we kind of note.
Yeah. Well, the reason I always like the parallel universe theory on that, like if you dream of the future and all that, because it kind of doesn't keep you on the whole predestination thing. Because if you're dreaming of the future, then that future's set, But if you're dreaming of like maybe a parallel universe where it's possible future, that means anything's still possible. The future's, as Yoda would say, always in motion. That would leave out, because I don't like I had a psychic on here. It's like everything's predestined. He told me I'm going to be doing psychic work later on. I'm like, not that I want to disagree with my guest, but I'm just like, I would think that would take out free will. They would take out everything if everything was predestined.
Yeah, there is a predestined, but there also is free will. Like what you were saying with like us actually having part of our human experience is going, oh, well, you said I'm supposed to do that, but like, I don't want to do that.
Well, I could buy the fact that there's predestination in the sense that we have multiple points of decisions, points of different roads to choose. Actually, speaking of channel, I used to be a musician. I used to write songs, and I always said to my band members and that it would be like a channel, because what came through me with lyrics and the music was just stuff I just let it go. And I wrote a song once called Roads Chosen. And it was one of the roughly last songs I wrote before I married my wife. And later on, looking at those lyrics, listening to the song, I'm like, boy, I am totally predicting like what I chose, what I'm doing. And that's what I always looked at parallel universes and the predestination factor, is that we have different roads to go. We have certain path and destination to go, but there's different roads we can take to get to it. And we make those choices, which road we're going to choose.
Yeah, it's like playing the game of life, but for real.
Yeah. I hated that game. Let's play the game of life. I'm like, I want to play Monopoly. I want to play a game of life. I knew back then as a kid, I don't want to pretend about having kids. It's going to happen. It's going to, it's going to be wonderful, but it's going to be stressful. I don't need to play a board game. You just had another daughter. I'm like, yeah, no. Let's play Monopoly and give me a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, that's what I feel. I feel like life is like different roads we chose and paths we can take, but there's a lot of options that can be put on our table. There's different paths we can take, and there's parallel universes where we've taken different paths, basically. Yeah. So now they're using you as a channel. What is the information they really want you to convey? I mean, there's got to be a purpose or a reason why they're trying to do this.
My main messages for the last like 9 months has been about DNA activation, DNA coding, and recoding. But basically, by doing the DNA coding and recoding with using the inner earth frequencies and energies, is to help us ascend without having the ascension symptoms that so many people go through, especially like spiritual entrepreneurs, people who are like spiritual and like trying to advance themselves. I've worked with a lot of clients who go, no, Joy, I don't want to do any healing because I don't have time to have a healing crisis. Or have an ascension flu, because those are all symptoms that are like brain fog and
Ascension flu?
yeah, which is like brain fog and tiredness and like headaches and like not being able to like really like function. It's like you feel like you've got like a head cold. For some, like that's how I used to experience it, was be like, I just feel like I have a head cold for like 6 months. Like,
Oh, wow.
right. And so a lot of people don't want to advance themselves, like actually like do the inner work and advance themselves, because they don't want to have all these symptoms. And especially with the planets and, you know, all the astrology stuff that happens all affects us, and everyone gets all like, oh, I'm tired because, hey, everyone's tired and it's okay that you're tired because this is what's happening. And what happens for me is I'm sitting there going, especially since I started to work with Inner Earth more and more, is, oh, everyone in the collective and in the spiritual community that I'm like a part of, like on Facebook and stuff, are all experiencing all of these symptoms. And I'm just sitting back going, I feel fine, you know, like.
Well, sure, they don't. Right now is not a good time to get, you know, ascension flu, because I mean, you might think you have COVID. You know, nobody wants to deal with that right now. Nobody wants to feel sick in any way, because like, oh my god, I got COVID or I got ascension flu. I don't know which one. You know, so but it can make you physically sick if you know, maybe if you don't know what you're doing.
I don't think
it's going to happen no matter what.
I think it just happens. It just happens, but then it's also something that that we can try to prevent ourselves from doing, right? Like we can either go, hey, I'm going to have like 3 months of the ascension flu, or I'm going to take this other road and I'm going to maybe experience the ascension flu symptoms for like 3 hours in one day. And that's it. You know, and then go on with my life type of a thing. So that's
I like that road better.
Yeah. So that's what I'm really trying to convey, like in my work, and like why it's important to work with like myself, particularly with like Inner Earth enchantments and stuff like that, is to help decrease those symptoms for yourself. But also it's you're having to make that choice to, like, either like you're investing in me as a healer, or you're investing in someone else as a healer, or you're just like trying to do it all on your own. And I used to be that person who was like, I'm a healer. Like, why am I a healer if like I'm just supposed to heal myself? Like, I don't need anybody else. And it wasn't until I really opened myself up to having other people come in and do healing stuff on me that I like ascended more, and like my healing was like went from like here to here type of a thing. So it's like we all came here to work with each other and not just to do everything on our own.
So the transformational healing it's to help somebody transform to this kind of like a next plane of existence or higher plane of existence. Is that what the ascension is? Now, do the Inner Earth people, are they living in a different plane of existence than us? Besides living in Inner Earth, are they like kind of in a different dimension?
Yeah, they are in a different dimension. Okay, let's see. What dimension are you in? I'm gonna ask. It's like I'm getting the 9th dimension. I've never actually asked them that question before. So,
excuse me, where do you live in the dimensional real estate? You know, what's your dimensional address? Yeah. But, you know, I 9th dimension, you know, how many dimensions are there? You didn't get into that, or the brass tacks of the existence of it.
Yeah, that's just.
But they exist on a different plane. Like, if you were to find their inner world, would you even see them if you're in this physical plane? Like
you might not, right? Because it's like your eyes and your perception aren't open to it, or aren't filtering in the right information and light, so that it's like you just don't see them. Like, I missed it earlier. Somebody in the chat room, I forgot who, I'm sorry, had asked about Inner Earth and being dimensional like that with like fairies and stuff. Does that, like the existence of fairies and that relate to this? The fairies and the elves aren't, from what I've gotten, they're not actually part of Inner Earth. They are on the Earth plane, and they are different dimensions, at different dimensions.
But well, it'd be similar. I mean, that they're in a different dimension, but they're on our plane up here somewhere, or they're not in our plane, but they're up on the Earth in a different
they're up on
plane
the
of
surface.
existence.
They're on the surface. Yeah.
Well, what about Bigfoot? I've heard lots of stories about that. Some people speculate that Bigfoot is using caves and intertunnel systems or whatever inner Earth to travel between different like state parks, basically. Like he's you see him walking out there and he disappears because he goes back into a cave back into inner Earth. Is that kind of what's happening with Bigfoot?
That's what I get. What's happening with Bigfoot is he's just kind of like traveling, because the Bigfoot beings, they have the cloaking abilities. Yeah, they don't have like a cloaking type of ability and stuff that some of the other like the human beings like have. For their different like resources and stuff, so that when they come up to the surface, they are like shielded. It's like they're invisible, like we can't detect
is
them.
that because they're in another plane of existence? Is that how they're getting that kind of invisibility cloak? Because they're actually existing in a different plane?
It's a yes and no. Yeah, it's a very complex topic. Sure. Yeah. Because
well, I had my shadow person experience, and this thing felt alien to me. People are like, well, it's a demon. I'm like, I don't know if it's a demon, but it was very evil. It was, but one of the theories I don't remember what book I read or somebody's experience with reptilians underground, that they were appearing as shadows on Earth. I saw somebody's take on this, that they were appearing as shadows on Earth because it was like their way of remote viewing, like their way of being. They're down there, but they have a way of checking things out up here, and they mess with people, and they can look like 7-foot tall shadow people and stuff like that. I mean, if an alien can use you, I mean, I hate to say it, use it that way, but channel through you and maybe feel some experience. I mean, if they had the technology or the spiritual ability to jump into people or view people from the inner world, we could be like a whole entertainment system for them up here.
Yeah, exactly.
Boy, it's getting wild on their TV sets right now, or their remote viewing sets. Like they're getting up the popcorn down on inner Earth, getting ready for 2020 to end, because it's sure going to get nuts. Well, I keep saying the October surprise should be aliens showing up, but maybe it would, maybe I told them now's their time. I think people have already lost their minds.
I think we still have some work in the collective to do before I think they're fully will come. So.
Well, I mean, that's what you're doing though, right? That's the mission they put you on, is to try to help people become more aware of their existence, or how to
more aware and more open to their existence, and that belief that there is something outside of ourselves that, it's like, I find it funny, and this is just something that's coming to me now, is that in science and in our space exploration, like the NASA or the space people, I'm just going to call them the Space
Force.
Yeah, Space Force, space people. They're so obsessed with like finding other planets and like other solar systems and that. But then it's like, so you can see that there are other planets and solar systems out there, but you can't believe that there are aliens or ETs, like that exists. Like you try to like downplay that and be like, no, science can't prove that. And it's like,
well,
okay.
Even the idea of beings from other parallel dimensions and interdimensional, they talk about the theory of it in science all the time. But, I mean, look, CERN's getting ready to open up a whole new universe again and see if they can poke their heads into a parallel universe. I mean, they obviously believe in the possibilities.
Yeah, now it's becoming more open for that, especially like with I think the new people and the new people that are in those fields now, right, are, I like to call them like galactic like secret agents that are like, they're the human, but they're going to be the scientists, but they're going to open up like scientists' brains to being like, oh yeah, this is what's possible. Yeah, let's prove it.
Well, let's open up a hole to another dimension, bring Clutha through or something. I don't know. It doesn't sound like a good idea, opening up holes to other dimensions, but I don't know.
Yeah, some of the stuff that they're doing is kind of like, you don't really know what you're playing with.
Well, it had to have back in the 1940s when we dropped the first atomic bomb. That had to have rattled some bells down in inner Earth.
Yeah.
Is that you? Well, I mean, to say maybe the whole purpose of you is that now they have an interest in reconnecting with us because the idiot's got nuclear technology now. We need to worry.
We
about
need to
that.
dismantle that.
Well, and look at the UFOs that show up and shut down nuclear facilities. They've shut down nuclear armed, ICBMs and shut them down where they didn't work, or triggered them too. In the case in Russia, it makes you wonder what if there's a whole inner Earth, a whole other alien race that have they have a concern for this planet as much as we do. Then that would make a lot of sense why they'd be going around trying to warn us to stop using the nukes.
Yeah, and they've saved planet Earth and us humans from destroying ourselves so many times, is what I have gotten.
It would make sense. I'm surprised we haven't destroyed ourselves yet.
But Earth and human beings are really important to the galaxy and the universes and the different star races in their ascension and in their planets evolving and them evolving is what I have gotten.
All right. Well, hold that thought because we're going to go to commercial break. When we come back, we can talk about why, because humans love to know why we're so important, why we are important to their accession in other universes. I'd love to hear about that, what you've channeled about that. And we'll open up the phone lines, guys. Call in, ask your questions of our guests. Joy Rachelle, you can check her out, her website when we go to commercial break at joyrachelle.com. But we will be right back.
He is conducting an experiment into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
The night is alive. Join us and take a walk on the weird side when you tune in to the Kingdom of Nye, hosted by Heather Wade, the finest in late night talk. Listen live free weeknights starting at 9 p.m. Pacific time at thekingdomofnye.com, talkstreamlive.com, and the Paranormal Radio app. Wanna take a ride?
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranormal Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranormal Magazine and soon, paranormalmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Tired of school?
Who was Joan of Arc?
Noah's wife? Like to travel?
Let's go back into history. Let's reach out and touch someone.
Want to meet people in the past?
Put them in the Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden? Excellent! Execute them. Oh, yes.
Then hitch a ride with George Carlin, Keanu Reeves, and Alex Winter in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure from Orion Pictures.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
The answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is 42.
42?
Yes, I thought it over quite thoroughly. It is, it's 42. It would have been simpler, of course, to have known what the actual question was.
But it was the question. The ultimate question. Of everything.
That's not a question. Only when you know the question will you know what the answer means.
You are listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID Jblandoo or Jblandparanormalsoup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight, we're talking to our guest, Joy Rachelle. She's a channeler and transformational healer. I want to talk to her, ask her about what do we need to do to ascend? Where do we ascend to? I've heard a lot of people throughout the years of reading different books on the psychic abilities and channeling and the talk of ascension to a higher plane, like the Celestian Prophecy. Remember that book? Something that's always interests me, because we do live on a vibrational level. I think that's why we don't see, some people are able to tap into that and communicate with spirits because they can get themselves up higher to a higher level to communicate with it. I also think there's dark entities that want you to come down to a lower level so they can communicate with you. So there's dangers too. And obviously there's aliens and inner earth people. There's a lot going on, a very complex subject. And I know it might go over some of your head. It goes over my head sometimes too. That's why we have our guests, and that's why you can call into the show and ask your questions of our guests. So the phone lines are open. Just remember, if I hang up on you, it's because I got somebody else on the line, or if you hear us talking, just know we're going to get to you in just a few. Just hang in there. But let's go ahead and get back to our guest. Thank you for hanging in there with me, Joy. So why do the inner earth people or aliens have interest in our ascension or us even being here or doing anything?
Like,
I know it's a complex subject,
like a simple term. Their ascension basically depends on our ascension. So it's like they have a vested interest in humans ascending and planet Earth ascending in order for the species and their planets to ascend to higher levels.
Is this like a karmic thing? Like this goes back basically thousands of years of some kind of karmic license they gotta agree to help us ascend with them, or they don't get to, or I know, complicated subject.
I mean, it's kind of a yes, but kind of a no. But it's also because you probably heard the term like starseed.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, all of us are starseeds, and we have different DNA from a whole bunch of different galactic races, right? So basically, it's like we're also kind of like cousins and like ascendants like to them as well. So they also kind of have the interest in that sense. It's like we're family, right? Like we're a part of them. And so they want us to ascend because like their soul essence like extends to us and planet Earth, and just us ascending helps them ascend.
But I was always wondering about it is that we think of us as humans and human souls, but if our souls are something more than that, like we were aliens on different planets, and this could be a whole repository for some ancient alien war that happened, and we're just the souls being reborn as a new, like, to make peace. That's why we have all these aliens here, is that they this from this ancient war. It's something I channeled in a book I tried to write that never happened. But I always wondered if we're some kind of treaty, or that's why they can't like interfere. It's like, there's some war, and then they threw humankind together as like some kind of treaty, or this planet, and it's off limits, can't touch it. There's got to be some kind of reason why they can't interfere.
What I've gotten is just the type of planet that planet Earth is, with its 3D, and there's some sort of code or something that's on it that basically says that it's a free will planet. And so when it's a free will planet, then they can't interject.
Right.
They can try, but
it's like,
that's why they have like people like me and like other channelers and other spiritual people who are like, hello guys, come see the light.
Well, I always wondered if there's some kind of like contract or treaty, or I'm Star Trek fan, prime directive, that keeps them from overstepping their bounds or interfering too much.
I have read about that in some like blog posts and stuff that I've read about, but it didn't really resonate with me, and I didn't really ask like further questions on it. So like what I'm finding with channeling and with information is, it's like I have to be like my own investigator, where it's like I'm basically going like, hey, like these are my questions, and then I ask it and then I get the answer type of thing. But again, it's like some questions I haven't asked, so it's like, oh,
well, it's like the thing I played from Hitchhiker's Guide from the Galaxy. You know, like, well, you didn't ask the right question. You know, yeah, I gave you the answer 42. Well, you know, you didn't ask the question right then. You know, we don't like the answer. You know,
yeah,
42.
or it's like you didn't understand what 42 meant.
Right. We do got somebody waiting on the phone line. We got Marcus on the line. How you doing tonight, Marcus?
I'm doing great, and thank you again, Jason. Hey, before I launch into my dying or burning issue, may I make a personal request to you guys?
Sure.
It's for a charity I'm working with, the C3 Foundation. Claudia Christian, who's commander of Anava from Babylon 5, founded this charity with the idea of saving as many lives from alcohol use disorder as she can. And I'm doing my humble best as an outreach volunteer to help her out. And one of the brainstorms I came up with recently was help write a cookbook. And the brilliant title, which I'm very proud of, is Hot Crossed Buns. Games, grub, games, and goals for the Gimpy, which I fully claim to be a charter member of because I'm a stroke survivor. I'm physically handicapped. I'm hemiplegic on the right side, bedbound, wheelchair bound, and will probably die that way. Fine. Great. This I can do, and I'm having a great time doing it. Just the idea that somebody who's bedbound would write a cookbook, grub, games, and goals for the Gimpy is, you got to admit, kind of unusual and pretty ballsy. So
I love the title. I love the title, Marcus. It's awesome.
I'm having a great time with it. I invite everybody who likes to send recipes. I will attribute, and we'll put together something that'll leave people going, you know, I may not be bedbound, but I know somebody who would get a kick out of a book with this title.
I'll give you my spaghetti.
There it is.
I'll give you my spaghetti bake recipe.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Pasta for the unpunished.
Yeah.
I think that's great. And you've got my email address, so please feel free to forward it, or I'll give it now, marcustempe@gmail.com. And thank you. Right, and send on your recipes. I'll attribute and hold you unculpable for any misinformation or damage or harm that's done. It's on my neck. Bless you all for helping.
Yeah, my spaghetti bake is definitely hard on the arteries. So,
ooh, I love it. I love it. Live dangerously.
Exactly.
So,
it's worth it.
The main question which led me into this is, I feel like a psychic-led brick even now. So for somebody who doesn't know where he came from, doesn't really fully understand what he's doing here, and is very unsure as to where the heck he's supposed to be going next. Help! What am I supposed to do?
It's a very open-ended question.
Well, yeah, I'm a very open-ended guy. What I got to lose? Anyway.
The answer is 42, Marcus. 42.
Now go figure it out.
You're a big help. Thank you, Jason.
Go ahead,
I will
Joy.
contemplate that one until my navel falls off.
You all right, Joy?
Mm-hmm. I'm just, my cat might be jumping up, so.
Oh, that's all right.
Ah.
Yeah. Okay, no. Okay. She's walking away. Okay.
Oh.
So.
I love fresh kitty cats. They're wonderful.
I'm just going to hold the computer in case, you know, she is pawing at a cord. So basically, you're wanting to know what your purpose is.
Yeah.
What was your
brilliant
what
post you get?
What was your first name again?
You get such, Marcus, you get such brilliant people in summing up my dilemma in a very concise question. God bless you, lady.
Okay. Your purpose is
And you may,
help bring joy
Well,
to the people around you just by being
oh,
you.
good. I can help doing that.
You seem like you have, after all the things that you told us that you have, like going on with you, that you still have a really positive outlook on life, and that's really hard to find.
My positive outlook on life has only gotten better since my stroke. That was 7.5 years ago, and life keeps getting better and better and better.
Well, sometimes that's what happens, right? Is life throws us a curveball, and then we're forced to like count our blessings and be grateful for like what we have now, and then move forward in that. Like that's what evolving is as human beings.
Yeah, when life gives you lemonades.
Yeah.
When life gives you lemons, make lemon chutney or lemon cream pies.
That sounds much better than lemonade.
Yes. Well, you can use them as a weapon as well as a food source. So.
Well, thank you, Marcus, so much for calling in.
I hope that helped answer.
Well, everybody had a laugh, so we got that much at the very least. Thank you.
Remember 42, Marcus, 42.
I'll let you know what it comes up. Thank you.
Have a great night. But, somebody like Marcus, being a paraplegic, he's still finding his purpose. That's what I love about him. He's still finding a way to make life something for him, and to find a purpose. I love the cookbook idea. That's awesome, Marcus. Got to do the cookbook. But for people, what is it? I guess sell them on ascension. Like, why should we trying to do this whole ascension thing? What is it?
So ascension is basically it's raising our vibrations so that we're able to hold more light. And so what the heck does that mean? It just means that we're able to filter in more of the light that is to come through us and to come onto the planet to help heal it. And by raising our vibrations, we help to become like Marcus, we go from having maybe feeling like our life is like the dumps or not really knowing what you're doing, and you have all these things that happen to you and you're just kind of like, oh, why? And then ascension kind of happens and we have a higher frequency energy and we have more light coming in, and then we evolve to have more positive, right? So instead of having all the war and stuff that's going on in the world and all of this fighting over what should we do over this crisis type of
it's always the next crisis.
Yeah, it's
right now.
Let's just, what if we lived in a world where we didn't have any of that, where all of our stuff all of our needs were met, and we didn't have these lower vibrational energies that are kind of an example is oh my goodness, how am I going to pay my bills this month? That's a really
the whole year
lower
of 2020,
vibration. Right? Whereas
the whole
when
year of
you're
2020.
when you're in a higher vibration, then it's you kind of have this knowing that, yeah, I don't have any money now, but I'm pretty sure I have the faith and the trust and I've surrendered that it will come when I need it. And by the time
I'm not that type of person. I need to be. I need to do some ascension because I am definitely not that person. But I always was fascinated by people like Edgar Casey, who lived his life that way. He was definitely a channel. And he lived his life that way all the time. Like they'd work, they weren't very rich, didn't have a lot of money, but he'd never worry about it. Like he went and bought a fishing. I remember the story. He goes and buys a fishing pole when they needed to pay like their bills. And his wife's like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, God got me this fishing pole. It's all right. He'll provide." And sure enough, he did, but just kept them just enough afloat. They never worried about it.
Yeah. And
I'm
it's
sure
like
they had to have some worry.
Yeah. And it's like evolving your mindset, right? Like us as humans, we're so stuck in our mindset and our beliefs. And so you can think about ascension as well as evolving your mindset from going to being like, I have the blinders on and I think I can only do this one thing, to being like, wow, there's a whole world out there that is like my oyster. I think that's a saying. It's like,
yes,
basically
it
you
is.
can take from it what you want, and then you're learning and you're evolving yourself in the process. And as we evolve, as we ascend, we help other people ascend, and we help the earth ascend, which is basically what it's all about.
We have two other people on the phone line. I'm gonna get to this one that just called, I think, a few minutes ago. I don't see the area code. It should be on my sideline call. Who do we got? Do you hear me?
Is it for me?
Yes, I'm talking to you.
Okay. Yeah, you've got Janice.
Janice, thanks for calling in.
I've got two questions for Joy. First one, I wondered if she was able to tell me what my origin is.
Let's see if that is available. Janice? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm getting Palladian Octorian. Is that
okay?
Make sense to you?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
maybe you've heard of them. Not heard of them.
I had heard Lemurian before as well. So
a lot of Lemurians actually ascend from the Palladians. So that makes sense.
Okay. The second question was, I wondered if, being as you have contacts in the inner world, if you had contacts there that would be interested in stepping forward and getting to know me during meditation.
I just feel really heavy right now. So I feel like right now that's a no. It's like, do you do like a lot of connection work or spiritual energy work or anything? Inner work?
I do Reiki, and then get the meditation and that on myself as well.
Okay. They would like for that to happen. I'm just getting, and don't take any offense by this, is you need to raise your vibration higher. And you also have to do some sort of commitment to working with them. A lot of the beings that I connect with, galactic star beings and the inner earth beings and people that I connect people with, they're really wanting people who are really committed to creating and building a relationship with them. So how I like to explain it is it's like dating, and like it's like dating someone, right? Like when you make a connection with like an inner earth being, like they want you to be invested in it and to not be just like, oh, hey, cool, I met this Bigfoot being from inner earth in my meditation, but you never do anything with the information. Like you never
You ghost them.
Yeah, like yeah.
You ghost.
You just go, oh yeah, that's cool. Next. It's kind of like yesterday it came to me as an example of everyone kind of knows what like Tinder or like what are those dating apps? I'm married, so I don't know any of the dating apps are. But you know those apps that you're like dating and you're just kind of like swipe and then you're like, yes, no, yes. Kind of like not being like that, but being like, if you were like single and you were like really invested in finding your soulmate, it's like you invest in like, I don't know, one of those higher end programs that like really like match makes you, like, if that, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. They just want people who are really invested in that. So I'm like, okay, how can you, and what are you doing now to raise your vibration? Just more inner work.
Okay.
And
okay.
And dedication to like.
And so when
sorry, you go ahead.
Yeah. So when you get to a certain level of being open and spiritual, I guess, do they make the first connection with you, or is that something that you need to delve further into yourself?
It's like 50-50. It's like you open yourself up to being open to connecting to that energy. But this is also something that I talk about a lot, like on my page, and I have videos like on Instagram and stuff about it, is energy integrity, which is, again, like, I think if you went back to like the first half of this interview, is I was talking about how there are like good entities, good beings, and not good beings. And so it's kind of like making sure that your energy integrity, and in it being, you being like more high vibe and stuff, is knowing who it is that you're connecting with, because a lot of people get like this kind of like daydreamy, like romance, like type daydream of like, oh, it'd be so awesome to like work with an inner earth person. And so like, or a being, and then they get connected with them. But then it's like that person didn't have like their best intentions, like your best intentions, like, for you, but you thought it did, like, type of thing. It's really hard to explain. Okay. It's just like an energy thing. Yeah. So I
it's
hope
like working with fairies, but the fairies could be the mischievous side coming through on them rather than for betterment.
Yeah. So it's yeah. That's a really good example of what it is like. Yeah, because just like humans, like there are good humans, there are bad humans. There are people who have different intentions. There are people who make friends with you just to like use you to spread some information or to do something, right? And then you find out later that, oh shoot, I shouldn't have done that because, oh, that caused all this. Oops, type of a thing. So it's just, yeah, a little complicated.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Janice. Those were great questions.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. We got somebody else waiting on the line here, too. We got Zach on the line. How you doing tonight, Zach?
I'm doing pretty good, brother. How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for calling in.
All right. So I just have 2 questions, but I'll keep them nice and short. Hi, Joy. So my first question to you, you mentioned that all of these beings that are either that are helping the human race are on their own path to ascension. My question to you is, what is the final level of ascension? Can you describe it a little bit? And then have you encountered any beings that have reached that final level?
I haven't, and I haven't even asked that question. I've never been asked that question. I never thought to ask that question ever either. So I don't really have an answer for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And my second question goes back to these inner earth beings. My question is, how are they able to grow food with limited access to sunlight?
Yeah, what do they eat?
They have their own sunlight that's powered by their own energy technology. Like they have their own energy technologies that they have their own sun. And when I've been down there And when I say I've been down there, it's like journeying. That's the best I can describe it. It's like journeying down there. Is they have like forests and they have like fields of like grain and stuff, just like we do, but like smaller, because some of the landscape that's down there is kind of like what I want catacomby, like it's like little like catacombs. Yeah, I'm like picturing a cereal. Is what you know, those cereals that are like, it's like round, that it has
Honey
like
Oats?
it has those little cone things in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, honeycomb cereal. Maybe that's what it's called. Yeah. So some of their landscape kind of looks like that. But they have their own food sources. They have their own like sunlight thing, and they're also like higher dimensional beings. So they don't necessarily like, they're not like us humans who are like, I need to eat all the time, you know, type of a thing for our energy. Like they get energy from other sources, or they just like are like a source of energy. If that makes sense.
Okay. Well, no, that's all the questions I had. Thank you so much, Joy, for answering them. I greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome. Sorry I couldn't answer that first one, but I will come back to this and, you know,
12 into it.
on it. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Zach. You always have great questions. You have a great night, bud.
Hey, you too, brother. You take it easy.
Well, the question that Zach had, is like, do you know how many levels of ascension are there, or is it just you basically are focused on just the next level?
Well, there are two different kind of roads here. I might be opening a can of worms. Is planet Earth is on an ascension to 5D energy, and a lot of people in the collective are like, oh, we're going to 5D. Oh, we're going to 5D energy. But what's come into my awareness in the last probably like, especially since like the Lion's Gate, is we're actually plugging into 12D energy, and 12D energy in the earth, and for ourselves, has spiritual beings. Like we do have that access to it, but a lot of people are stuck on that fixation of like 5D. We're gonna make it to 5D. It's like, which is okay, because that's where we want most of the collective to rise into, and planet Earth to rise into is 5D. But like, I guess I would call them like advanced spiritual people we're plugging into the higher grids, so that basically we're helping the rest of the collective and planet Earth like really plug into that 5D energy.
It doesn't feel like this year doesn't feel like we're plugging into 5D energy. Maybe some people are, but as a mass population of the Earth, I feel like we've lost our minds. Like it's gotten very negative.
Yeah, this year has been it's something that the up there beings who like kind of like, if you've heard of like Galactic Federation and stuff like that,
yeah,
didn't really, it's not like really a scenario that they were prepared for. Right? So basically right now, the information that I've gotten, and I do this like in a Facebook group as well that I have, every full moon is I do manifesting new earth energy using the full moon, is because for Earth to ascend and us to like basically plug into a more positive timeline, we need to shift at least 50% of the human collective consciousness like into this consciousness that we're in, with that higher vibration of like the positive, and like believing that like there's like something better like after all of this
good
turmoil.
luck.
Yeah, but because we have free will, it's like that's what they keep telling me, is that we have to tip it to like 51%, and then they can do more stuff. Like they'll
so
be able
good.
to intervene. Yeah.
Doesn't look so good.
Yeah. We have a lot of work to do.
I mean, it really feels like the last few years, the world's just losing its mind. And I'm not getting into politics on this. I'm not. I'm just saying there's a lot of levels of how this seems like literally the world's lost its mind with morality, with, with perception of reality in itself. I mean, heck, we're still arguing over if the world's flat. I mean, like everything's an argument nowadays. It's a lot of negative energy out there. And yeah, I know it's election year and, things get really crazy, but things have gotten really crazy this year. And, part of me wonders, is this some part of some kind of, is it its own ascension flu? Like, are we going through some growing pains here?
Well, it's a mass awakening for the collective, for the population, right? Is to show them that there is like something else out there, like spiritual, like there's something more to us than just being human and like going to work to our 9-to-5 job. And then with COVID happening, it's like most of the people had to like work at home, and then they discovered that, wow, I don't have this like long commute anymore, and I'm not like racing, and wow, I can like actually like hear my thoughts, and like actually.
And some
like,
people lost their minds and got divorced. I'm saying some of that inner contemplation wasn't good for some people.
But maybe that was something that was good. Maybe that's something that was kind of like going to happen anyway, and then it was just kind of like the tip.
No, I definitely, when we had the lockdown part of it, I was like stressed out because of it, but I'm like, I'm going to enjoy this time with my children and my wife. And we both, all four of us are like, oh, we kind of don't want it to end. We want to like, we try to enjoy the time we had, the quietness and being able to spend time, because my kids are going to be grown up before I know it. So yeah. I try to enjoy that time and inner reflect at that time. But man, the stress of it all made it really hard.
Yeah. Everything going on.
Yeah, and it's still stressful. There's a lot of people are living through stressful times right now. It might be hard for them to connect with higher energies when they don't know if they're going to lose their job, or they don't have a job, they lost their job. A lot of things, negative energies to keep you from, I guess, reaching that higher level right now.
Yeah, but sometimes what's coming to me is sometimes like it's like just like that baby step of, like, if we talk about like prayer, it's like, like there's more people maybe that are open to being like, oh, like, please help me. Like, I think I'm going to like try to put my faith in something else that's bigger than me now with everything that's going on.
Right. We do got another phone call I want to try to take before we have to go to our last commercial break here. I think I got 406 area code. Who do I got?
Good evening, Jason. This is Mike in Montana.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for calling in.
I just wanted to ask Joy if she thought social media is a step forward or a step backward for all of us in ascending.
It's like a double-edged sword.
That's the perfect answer. Yep.
It's good and it's not good, because for people who are like stuck in their, I guess, their like own opinions, and they're stuck in that like trauma mindset where they always have to like, they see someone's post and they have to like post something negative or whatnot, like that can get escalated. But we're also living in a time where social media it's really important for like the global leaders, like especially like in my field, like spiritual global leaders who are here that are trying to convey a message that, hey, like there's something more out there, like we can get through the darkness, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, there's something more to everything that's happening. And in that sense, it can be good, though we can get a lot of backlash from like the non-believers and skepticism and stuff like that. But it's good for us to be able to like spread our message to an extent. With some of the social media platforms, we just have to watch. Well, my guidance is that to watch like the terms and stuff that you're using, because they can be flagged, and so then your content isn't being pushed out like as often. So in that sense, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because it's like you can do good with it, but then there's a lot of like negative energy attached to it, which I found a lot during like the whole COVID thing, is that a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs, a lot of people who are in that spiritual like business sense, left Facebook, or are in the process of leaving Facebook because they just can't handle the negativity of it, which is kind of sad, because it's like, no, we need you still to be a voice on here. But again, that's like their free will of if they want to do that or not. So yeah.
No, I've been tempted many times, but you know, it is, like you said, double-edged swords, because it's not like Good Morning America is going to have you on tomorrow morning to talk about, you know, channeling inner earth people. It's not going to happen. You wouldn't get your word out there if it wasn't for social media. But yeah, then there's, you know, the temptation everybody has is like, oh, I'm going to totally comment on this one. I'm going to totally like get an argument on Facebook with somebody. It's like, you just wasted time of your life you're never going to get back.
Yeah, it's like, if you have nothing nice to say, just don't say it at all.
Move along.
Just yourself.
Do you have any other questions, Mike?
No, I just wanted to thank you for taking my call, and thank you, Joy, for the answer.
You're welcome, Mike.
But yeah, you know, there's a show I love is it's called What We Do in the Shadows. It was a great movie, but they made it a TV show, and there's a energy vampire. And he's like, they have vampires in the show, but like there's one vampire, he's an energy vampire. And like he discovers the internet basically, and is able to like just get in all these troll wars with people. And he's like a total troll, and like just trolling people. And he's like sucking that like energy through the internet. Like he's even goes in overload. Like it's too much for him. It's even too much. But I'm like, it is an energy drain when you get sucked into these diatribes and, you know, these arguments on Facebook. It's not even worth it. It's not even worth it. You're not changing anybody's mind about any subject. You're just getting in a war. Just, you know, you don't like, you know, I just say, you don't like somebody's post, unfriend, unfollow, or move along, whatever, you know, don't get sucked into that. I've done it. I've been guilty of it, you know, just like the other person, you know, but, you know, yeah, there's a good and bad. You know, it's a tool. It's out there. It can be used for good or bad.
Yeah, and it's also a good time, well, if you're open to it as a person, to see and really like reflect within yourself why it is that someone's post that's saying a certain thing is triggering you so bad. Yeah.
So there's a lot of triggering going on. There's a lot of triggering going on, you know, when it comes to social media and the media. Like I always say, it's like, you know, if there are energy vampires and they need all this negative energy, man, they must be working in the news media, because boy, they're looking constantly to trigger people and put them in a bad place. Like, we're all going to die. It's a scene on Airplane where the person's panicking. Everybody's walking up and trying to slap them, you know, or the plane goes nuts once they say, you know, we're going to crash. Everybody's like, every man for their own, you know, that it's like we're constantly being triggered to panic or worry.
Yeah, which I don't know why this is coming up, but celebrities, like, they get like a really bad rap sometimes because they're like, oh, like they're rich and famous. Like, why do they have all these issues? And it's like, okay, no, but we need to take a step back and be like, they're just regular human beings too, whose job is for them to be like made them famous. Like, they still have traumas and triggers and things too that they're still trying
and
to
they're
work
people
through.
They say stupid things.
Yeah,
people say stupid things. I've said plenty,
but only like their whole life is photographed. Like,
yeah, I would never want that. Like I've always said, I wanted this show to be famous. I'd love for this show to grow. Please share, people. Please share. But I don't personally want to be famous. I just like doing the show. I just want more audience, you know, but I don't want to like be famous. That would suck. I would not want to walk down the street and say like, oh, hey, no, that would suck. That would be awful. Like I want to be. It's nice thing about masks is you get to walk around and like you run into somebody you don't want to talk to, and like, oh, I gotta recognize me with this mask. That's great.
Hopefully
this is
they
awesome. It's one good benefit I've found. It's like I'm like a ninja. You know, nobody's gonna know who I am. And then like, hey, Jason. I'm like, God damn it, this mask is worthless. You know. No, don't ban me, YouTube. I didn't mean wear your face mask, people. Wear your face masks. It might hide you from COVID and other people you don't want to run into. I don't know, but you know, there is a lot of negativity on social media, and I definitely feel like it's a double-edged sword. Is that we're getting information out there nobody would ever heard before if it wasn't for social media. You know, mainstream media is never going to cover this kind of stuff that we're talking about ever. I don't care if aliens land on the White House lawn, then they're just done because they've been full of crap all these years, you know. But unless that happens, they're never going to cover this,
or they try to hide it.
Yeah, or they try to hide it. You know, and we do have like a slow kind of disclosure thing happening with our government right now. Have you channeled anything about what's going on with the UFO sightings and any knowledge you gained from that? Are they giving you an insight to the UFO sightings or abductions even? I mean, we've had abductees on here.
No, I haven't really tapped into that. It's just something that my spirit team is just kind of like, that's like for other people to play in, like those topics, like for other people to play in. And like people have been playing in those topics for years and even like decades now. It's like, we don't need to like regurgitate like a story, like the same type of message, when I guess I'm here to spread like new information that people haven't even heard of before, right? So it's like, which makes it makes it harder to like do what I do and be a public face of it. Is sometimes they give me information and I go, you want me to say that on Facebook? Okay. But I've done a lot of work over the last like year to get me to this place where I'm like, my mission is bigger than my human. And it's like, what if? It's just like, I'm just the messenger, people. And if you don't like me, then like you said, unfriend me, unfollow me. You don't have to get my stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I've had to say, all the 5 years of doing this show, we've been pretty troll free. We've had some trolls pop in the chat room, but mostly they leave us alone because, I have a great chat room that's just going to not pay attention to them, and they're going to get blocked eventually anyways. But we have great people in our chat room. We on YouTube and Facebook, and they're always open to hearing other people's philosophies and takes and letting people share their experiences. And that's why I started doing this show, is to have an open forum. So I thank social media for that. I wouldn't have the show, if it wasn't for social media. I wouldn't have chat rooms on Facebook and YouTube. I gotta love that. But I do fear for humankind, because I watch people literally lose their minds because of social media, like literally lose themselves in it. It's like, this isn't life, man. This isn't what it's about. It really isn't. Your arguments on Facebook, just let go of it. I've learned. Maybe not all the time. I probably still have some lessons to learn in it, but I've definitely, I spent a lot less time on social media the last year. I definitely do. I take long breaks from it,
which is good. That's part of your evolution, I guess. The evolution process.
But at the same time, the beauty and wonderful thing about internet video and chat rooms and all that stuff is or Facebook. I met these two wonderful people, Jamie and Rob, because of Facebook and because we belong to the ITC collective. That's how we met in that group. And I wouldn't know these two people I consider my best friends if I hadn't had social media. We've never physically met in person, but they're like my best friends. Yeah, not possible without technology. Would not possible.
Yeah, and it's a way so that we can really connect with other people without having to, especially like I'm a really big introvert. Like I don't like to have to go out and meet people.
I hear you.
And so, when you're behind your computer and stuff and you're just like typing and stuff, it's like, all right.
It keeps people at a distance. keeps people at a distance. Because you before internet, you actually had to like go meet people, like physically. Like, oh, I met you. Now I wish I hadn't. And there's no block here. I have to like literally go, okay, I have to go and like sneak out of the room, but the internet's like, oh, well, you're crazy, block, or you're really cool. So far, I can keep you at a virtual distance, and now with COVID, it's really working out. My son's 9 and I watch him playing video games, but playing video games with his best friends, that he doesn't get to hang out or play with now because of this very often. And they have this whole virtual world on Roblox they play and Xbox, and they are on video call with each other. These kids have nailed this technology in the last few months. They've just like figured it all out. They're calling each other on Google and like, yeah, because they're going to, it's like have this whole virtual world they're playing in now. I'm like, God, how is life going to change in the future with technology? These kids are already now being raised in a virtual world because of COVID.
Yeah, just crazy.
Well, my mind goes to fiction too, and there was a recent show that was on Amazon called Upload. Yeah, I think it was Upload. Yeah, I don't know if you saw it, but yeah, you saw it. So there's like a whole like virtual afterlife they create for people who haven't seen it. Go see it. I hope they make a second season, honestly, dude, because they leave you hanging. But they made this whole virtual upload world, like so people die instead of dying, they go to this uploaded virtual world. I see that as a possibility. And a scary one because we give up on the idea of extending onto the next world, the afterlife. Instead, we create this virtual prison.
Yeah, where you're just like living forever.
But we're training. I feel like we're training ourselves to head towards that. I mean, look at some of the big tech giants, the CEO of Google and Elon Musk, and these guys have all talked about sustaining life like that, like putting yourself into a computer, or this whole transhumanism thing. I would think your inner earth people would probably be not so much for the transhumanist thing or uploading yourself to a computer. Wouldn't it seem like it's part of the ascension plan?
Well, it's like I see transhumanism, I've seen it a little bit different where it's not really like I kind of like see the transhumanism that you're talking about, kind of like a cyborg from like science fiction movies.
Yeah.
Like, you're half
definitely.
human, you're half computer. But the way that I've seen it is that we're just evolving to a point where we are going to have the advanced healing and technology to just not age and for ourselves to regenerate. So it's like we can live for a really long time and process faster information, but like we don't necessarily have to become a computer or half a computer in order for that to happen.
But that's what they're pushing towards. I mean, Elon Musk is putting chips in pigs' brains to, I'm just saying that technology-wise, we're heading to a transhumanist reality. It's already happened. Our phones are such interconnected parts of us. I'm just as guilty as everybody else. Oh, what do you want to know? Oh, Siri, what do you know about that? Oh, you stupid. As I cuss at her because she looked up the wrong thing. But eventually, she's just going to be inside my head, and then I'm be arguing with myself. That's what I'm saying.
You're going to think it, and then it's going to come, and then you're going to see it.
We all become super geniuses, or we think we are, because all of our information comes from Google in our brain. I don't think we're going to be that much smarter for it. Honestly, I really don't. But
then that also gets really scary because then it's like Google or someone can put something on the World Wide Web and make us all believe it, and then we all become basically like robots that are
we're kind of already happening,
but like more culty, Like,
yeah. Like you didn't believe in you believe in his fake news. You can see like people screaming at you like in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's like like pointing at you because you didn't upload the latest program or something. I don't know, but it seems scary to me. It seems like we are meant to ascend to some other higher spiritual level, and the whole transhumanist movement that we have happening, underlying, I think people don't realize it's happening. It's kind of scary. To me, it would take us away from that kind of spiritual ascension if we become part machine.
Yeah. But I can see a lot of like resistance from a lot of the collective and the people
right
for that, right? Who are just going to be like picketing, like, no transhuman.
Well, that's what I see, you know. Or it becomes like it becomes its own class of society, and you have people like you can get a job because you can upload Google in your brain faster than I can go look it up on my phone because you put a chip in your brain. I don't. I couldn't afford it. You get the job. I don't. I live in an underclass of society, while the cyborgs are the upper class and rule everything. Yeah, I see how my sci-fi brain works. But that's what I fear, you know. But it also, you know, is it going to detach us from our humanity and from the soul level, spirit level of us moving on to something else? It doesn't require us to have chips in our brains and stuff.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it would be like a stunt to our evolution as we ascend, but that's probably one fork in the road that is a possibility in the future. So.
Yeah, no, it is. You know, I've always said too, you know, with that show Upload is, you know, are you really uploading yourself, or is it just a copy of yourself you're uploading, and you still move on to the spiritual plane and there's just some AI copy of you in that computer? I don't know if they could actually take your soul and put it in a computer. I don't see that as possible either.
Yeah, it's just like your consciousness, just like in the Altered Carbon show on Netflix.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, yeah.
No, you're in this chip now, and then we put this chip into this body, but
is
only
that really you?
This body.
But the sci-fi question I've always asked them, like, is that really you, or is that just a copy of you? You know, can they really take the soul and do that? But you also have to look at the possibility is that, well, aliens are, you know, there's some people that believe aliens are doing that, taking people's souls and putting them in certain bodies for missions and stuff like that. So there is a possibility of that. The technology exists for the aliens. It could exist for us eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
And put our souls in the Matrix or something. I don't know. Or maybe we are in the Matrix right now. That's a scary thought too. That's a scary thought. Well, go ahead.
That's what many people do believe, that we're in a matrix, and we're in a matrix called the 3D. And yeah.
You know, are you going to take the red pill or the blue pill?
Yeah.
That's the question. Do you want the red pill, or you want to go on living, you know, your life as it was? We'll leave people thinking on that thought as we go to our last commercial break, and we'll come back. Phone lines are still open, guys. Call in when we come back from this short commercial break.
Intercepted the transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and interfacediff.net.
This is an APAC studio presentation.
Hi, I'm Barry, owner-operator of Barry's Barometer Barn. Lately, I bet you've been lying awake at night asking yourself, how many barometers do I really need? Well, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we think you need more than one. Otherwise, we're going to go out of business. Remember, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we don't know the meaning of high-pressure sales. Come on, folks, buy another barometer. I'm trying to put my kids through college. I've got a family to support and a secret mistress who isn't cheap.
Visit Barry's Barometer Barn, 000 Storm Drive. Come on, folks, buy a barometer. I'm Barry's older brother, Larry, and every time one of you people walk past the store without coming in, Barry beats me.
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
When Alex Gardner is asleep, he has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it, the scientists want it, but to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all, but he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
The night is alive. Join us and take a walk on the weird side when you tune in to the Kingdom of Nye, hosted by Heather Wade, the finest in late night talk. Listen live free weeknights starting at 9 p.m. Pacific time at thekingdomofnye.com, talkstreamlive.com, and the Paranormal Radio app. Wanna take a ride?
Since 1948, Fate Magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. Time to die.
You're listening to the Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419, or by Skype caller ID oojblandoo or Jblandparanormalsoup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight we've been talking to the guest Joy Rachelle. She's a channeler and transformational healer. I really wanted to be cool there and play the clip from Matrix, take the red pill or the blue pill, and I hit the wrong button. But hey, you know what? I love Blade Runner as well, so I have nothing to do with the show. I hit the wrong clip there, but oh well. Could have been cool. Could have been cool and had the Matrix, but oh well. But I was going to ask, what would you take, the red pill or the blue pill? Do you want to know are we living in a kind of a Matrix right now? Something's up. and if we are in some kind of Matrix, it's falling apart or something's about to happen. I don't know, but we're almost to the end of this really weird, messed up year. And maybe we need some inner earth people to help us get through it. I don't know, but Joy is channeling them. If you want to ask your questions of Joy, call into the show. The lines are open, 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419. Skype IDs, oojblandoo or Paranormal Soup Jbland. Those are the lines. Call in and join the discussion. But let's get back to our guest. So, channeling that you do, we talked about the inner earth people, but what about the star beings that you channel? Well, who are they? What are the star beings?
What? I have channeled various star beings from different galaxies and universes, but I've mostly just like connected clients and that to the galactic star beings. But my work for like the last year has been mostly focused on the inner earth and just channeling information from like Annabelle to share.
But there's some star beings that have come into the mix of this. There's definitely this other thing going on.
Yeah. And I have channeled a lot of information. Well, some information just recently in the last, probably like 2 months. I probably recorded some of those videos with this collective called Gaius, which I'm a part of, which is described as like a black ops force for like the Galactic Federation of Light. So it's like how it's been explained to me is, it's like when you watch like those videos where it's like CIA and then there's like the black op team, but like nobody knows that they even exist and that you even exist.
Mission Impossible team, basically.
Yeah, basically like that's basically what I'm a part of. And so I've been sharing more information on them, but mostly it's just the information that they've had to share is just all about kind of like moving forward, like how we're going to be working with energy and how to be more mindful and more aware of your own energy. And like I was talking about before, like who it is that you're connecting to and kind of like asking like, okay, this is a tip that I guess is wanting to come through, is for anyone who's listening who has maybe had contact with someone or maybe in the future will have contact with a being, is it's like when you're meeting someone, if you have kids, let's say the example is kids, it's like you ask your kid, like, who is your friend? What's your friend's name? Where are they from? Where do they live?
The parents, like you talking to with today's internet, you're like, are you talking to a real kid?
Yes.
Is the worry. Yes. As a parent, I'm right there.
Yeah. So it's kind of like asking like those questions and then really kind of like it can be a really hard thing to trust when you start out, but it's really trusting like your gut of like what it is, how it is that you feel when you're connecting with these beings.
Right.
Like, do you feel really light and like excited and butterfly, or do you feel a little bit of that, but you also feel like tense, like in your gut, like in your stomach area? Because what I like to teach clients and my following is we get a whole bunch of information from so many different sources, especially when you're like, I'm a psychic medium, I'm a channeler.
You're open to it.
Yeah. But it's like we're having the information come in from all of the different clairs and all the different senses, but it's also about learning how to listen to your body and what it's trying to tell you. Like, you know, if you get tense in your gut, like, what does that mean? Like, don't ignore it. Like, question that.
Yeah.
You know, like, and this doesn't even have to be like just with connecting with galactic star beings or inner earth people and beings. It can be with connecting with random people that you meet on the internet or whatever.
Right. Like, don't trust your gut about certain people. Yeah, we talk about that, me and Jamie. Certain people like, yeah, no, I'll keep my virtual distance from you. We do got somebody on the phone line here, 860 area code. Who do we got?
Hi, Jason. This is Royal in Connecticut. How are you?
Hi, Royal. Thanks for calling in. Doing good.
Oh, very good. I'd like to ask Joy. Joy, is there a way you can tell me where my origin is from?
Your name is Roy?
Royal.
Royal. Royal.
Oh, that's cool. I'm getting Octurius. Does that resonate with you, or have you heard of it before?
I have heard that before. Yes, I have. No, that's Arcturian, correct?
Arcturian, yeah.
Okay. Also, another question that I had for you real quickly. What do these beings that you are in contact with, that you channel, do they have souls like we have?
Oh, great question.
Yes, they have. It's like a soul essence. It's
okay.
It's a little bit different.
Is that all of the beings?
It's a little bit different than what we humans understand what a soul is, but it's basically like the same thing. It's just more evolved, if that makes sense.
Okay, so more advanced than ours.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for your questions.
Yeah, thank you, Royal.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Jason, for taking the call. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, you wonder, I was actually, me and my son are Trekkies. And my 4-year-old, I don't want to judge yet if he's a Trekkie. He might just be too much Star Wars for him. But we're Trekkies, and we were watching, there's a show now they're doing called Lower Decks. It's a cartoon. And maybe not appropriate for a 9-year-old with some of the jokes in there, but it's a Star Trek cartoon. He has to watch it. And they had LaChance, what's the actor who played Q, did a voiceover, and they had Q on there. He's like, oh my God, they got Q. He's like, well, what is Q? And I don't know if you're not a Star Trek fan. I'm sorry. But Q is like this evolved entity. Like that is like, I'm trying to explain to him. It's like he's at a higher plane of existence than humans. These aliens are called Q, and they can snap their fingers and make things happen in reality. They're almost like, they're pretty much like gods. They portray themselves as gods, but they were an alien race that evolved. And he's like, yeah, I can see the little wheels turning in his brain, trying to understand that concept, But, you wonder, are there these beings that live, they don't have spaceships, they don't have anything. They're a higher vibration. They can literally snap their celestial fingers and make things happen or be wherever they want to be.
Yeah. I've encountered some of similar to that, where it's just basically they're just there, right? Like they just think of something and then they're there. It's like, it's not like, like Star Trek or whatever, where it's like, oh, it's going to take us, we have to go at warp speed for us to get to like this other planet. It's like, no, I'm just like basically like beamed there. So.
But they got that. They got the transport technology in Star Trek too, But yeah, they still have to warp speed over there to get that. So yeah, it makes you wonder what, we always think of alien civilizations advancing technological wise, but I love how Star Trek captured the idea of beings advancing spiritually wise, becoming advanced at a different level of existence, like they did with Q. We always just think of aliens advancing technology, but they're also could be advancing spiritually, which would give them a whole other set of perspectives and ability.
Yeah, well, basically, it's like they are, right? Like, we tend to, I think, in the spiritual community, when you get into like the galactic star beings, aliens, and whatever, it's like we almost kind of like put them on a pedestal of like, oh, they're so cool because they do all of this cool stuff. But then we kind of forget that, hey, like they don't really have our human emotions and stuff, like, because they've kind of like advanced it, but they still can feel. And so it's just kind of like really hard to explain sometimes.
Well, in Star Trek, Q is a real kind of jerk, but it seemed like the rest of the Q were all right. But his omnipresence gave him like jerkness, like, because he couldn't relate to humans or their emotions anymore because they became at a different level of existence. It makes you wonder, the alien encounters people have where there's like a feeling and emotion, a gap between us and them, because we're living in this 3D existence that they don't experience anymore.
Yeah, it's basically like trying to explain to an AI or a robot like how you're feeling. But they can be like, okay, so you're feeling sad. These are the things that I know of to make you feel better from being sad. But it's like they don't have the empathy that we feel, and that compassion for others.
Yeah, well, that seems at least that way for my alien abductee friends and some of their experiences. There's some lack of compassion there, but we also do the same thing to animals. We're at a different level than animals, and we treat them with definitely no compassion a lot of times. So you wonder if it's just different levels of the food chain. Do aliens eat us? See, I can't help but go to the negative route. Just like, Trump asks about aliens and goes right to like, our military is really great. We can blow stuff up really good now. I can't help but go to the, maybe there's good aliens, inner Earth people might be good, but there's definitely probably some bad ones. And, what are their intentions, or how are we going to deal with that? I don't know. Is ascension the way to deal with it, or do we need to get some laser beam weapons on our jets or something? I don't know. Could we be in trouble?
It's like, well, more people need to become more awakened, which is a part of the ascension process, because there are negative beings who have different intents for us, like.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a big one of my favorite movies is John Carpenter's They Live with Roddy Piper. And in that, there's like the aliens are here, they're totally disguised as humans, and like they're in our media, they're in our police force, they're all over. You don't even know it until you put on the sunglasses and you can see them. And then you can see the subliminal messages they're giving to people and stuff like that. Great movie. Go see They Live. It's classic, but it'll also make you completely paranoid about reality and what you live in. John Carpenter at his best.
John Carpenter.
Okay.
But it makes me wonder if there's this whole reality, this veil that most people don't see beyond of what's going on around us right now. That there could be a silent takeover by alien races, manipulating things behind the scenes or overtly, and we don't even realize it.
Yep, that is possible, because we're just not open to seeing that with our eyes.
Yeah. And if some of these aliens we could be cattle to them, feeding off our energy, or the reason why they could be, if they're feeding off a negative energy, boy, they're really doing a good job of it right now, of getting plenty of it. They got to be stuffed. Yeah. But there does seem to be, when you talk about awakening, I definitely, just 3-4 years ago, I've seen people more awakened or open to the idea of aliens existing on Earth because of stuff that people are waking up to and the soft disclosure by our government. It does seem like people are more waking up to the idea of alien presence here on Earth.
Yeah, and then even now. And I think it's just going to get more and more as the years go by. Yeah, that's basically just kind of like what I get. But then, there are different timelines that we are kind of
right. The future's
right. So
I always quote Yoda from Empire Strikes Back when he says the future's always in motion, or emotion. The future always is, or so whatever, however Yoda says it in backwards way. But basically, the future's always in motion. We're tending to go down this path that maybe psychics or channelers can see, but who knows? We could go down a wholly different path. That's what I wonder. But at the same time, I feel like no matter what we do, we're down some kind of path that's going to lead us to an alien presence revealing themselves here on Earth at some point.
Yeah, we are.
Or never at all. It's one way or the other. Either they're going to eventually reveal themselves, or it's always going to be the secret. We're always going to be wondering. I hate that idea.
Yeah, I feel like we're trying to move towards them actually coming down, and like the inner Earth people and that actually coming up, and then all of us kind of like being like, oh, okay, cool, like you can help us with this, you can help us like save our planet and like not use electricity anymore. And,
but then they go, well, we got the Prime Directive, you're on your own. That's what which might be a good thing, I don't know, but you hope, I know a lot of people hope if there is an alien presence here that's watching us, that they'll stop us from destroying ourselves. They'll stop us from a nuclear war or whatever. Do you feel like these inner Earth people would stop us from destroying ourselves? You've said they have in the past.
They have with like their technology that they have, they have. But that's like, I can't say with like 100% certainty that, like
they won't
accidentally miscalculate something or be
like, or just like, you know what, you guys screwed up. We're done helping you. They say that with Chernobyl, like Chernobyl should have been way worse than it was. And there's people that theorize there was alien intervention there that stopped it from being so bad. And there's, even the power plants and Fukushima that, are leaking radioactive stuff into the water. Things should be worse than they are, but maybe aliens are stopping it from being bad, helping it. Yeah, it could be. I mean, if we're really going to do ourselves in, maybe they are.
They're like, it's bad, but it could have been way worse, guys.
Yeah. We're fixing all the crap you keep breaking here on this planet, and we don't even get any credit for it. Except from the internet conspiracy theorists, or alien people, but no, otherwise, no. Good Morning America isn't telling people, but it's when they say, what are the links they'll go to protect us or get involved? How much of a distance do they keep themselves out of our affairs? The good aliens, at least. I think the bad aliens are all up in our affairs right now.
Yeah, they don't care about our free will or anything.
Right. Well, no, seriously. I'm afraid that we will get an alien like landing thing happening, but turn out they'll look just totally human, but under it they're reptilians eating gerbils or something like from V. Like that's what I'm scared of. Like eventually we get what we asked for and we get the aliens, but it's not the good ones. It's the ones that are going to be like, we're your friends, and then we're taking over your government and we're going to totally control all of you. Become alien slave race. I know I go negative. I can't.
Yeah, wow, that's really dark.
Well, me, my sci-fi brain, I can't help it. I've seen all the really bad scenarios. Like you're gonna have a bad time with aliens, But then also Hollywood's tried to shape us and make them look like they're friendly, like E.T. Like go phone home, like they're all friendly. I think there's been some work in Hollywood to try to change the whole aliens are going to kill you perception. Like Spielberg really try to change our perception of that. But then you got the good old Ridley Scott Aliens movie. They're like, they're going to grow things in your stomach that's going to pop out and kill you. I think we can't help but go to the dark side of something that is more advanced than us, because history shows that when we've landed on other shores, when a more advanced civilizations landed on other shores, like the conquistadors in South America, it doesn't end well for the less advanced civilization.
No, it doesn't. And then yeah, we think back to like the history of like, I don't know, like the Mayan civilizations and
Yeah.
you know, Egyptians and stuff, and you're kind of like, okay, so if that existed and that was so awesome, like, what happened? Why did they leave? Why are we how we are now?
Or like, why don't the aliens just show themselves? You know, or why don't they come down right now? Well, yeah, not a good idea. I don't think they're making any plans for 2020 to come down. Like, let's figure out that crap on our own. But
yeah,
could be soon. I don't know. Do you feel like the reason like you were channeling the information you are is because there is something that's going to happen soon that's going to change everything?
I don't feel like it's like super soon, but it's coming. And there's also what's happening in, I guess, like this December is we're entering into this new cycle, which everyone's calling the new age. So it's like the new age of Aquarius, where it's basically an ascension process for planet Earth, and that we're trying to plug into to basically create heaven on earth, so that we're actually like having heaven on earth instead of like all these dark scenarios, right? It's like a lot of people, I think,
like all the stuff my mind goes to.
Yeah, I think a lot of people actually don't realize what a lot of like spiritual people who are like healers and psychics and stuff who are really tapped in are actually doing in the background to, you know, help everybody, like to help the earth and to help the collective ascend, and, you know, to keep us more like in that positive timeline. And it's just like, you know,
I never forget the first new age shop I had like in our town, where you know, the lady that owned it, real nice lady, but she was totally into the quantum like collective kind of idea and collective consciousness, and she's very spiritual, and she did channeling and she did meditation, like, well, you know, guided meditations. And she got, you know, she was trying to help me and learn about this stuff. And I would just like totally go dark side. And she'd be like, no, we're not going to talk about that. Like, she would not want to look at anything negative whatsoever, or even think about it or speculate or go into it. She'd like look away from it. I think you got to look at it somewhat. You got to see some of the threats that are out there.
Well, you
have to be aware of it.
And that's kind of like a misconception. Well, is it a misconception? Or it's like kind of like this false belief that a lot of spiritual people have, or light workers have, is everything is love and light. There's no negative, but they're just avoiding going into the darkness and going into their own triggers and going into their clients' triggers, because it's going to trigger them to actually look at their like dark side and to look at the things that like their traumas and their inner turmoils.
Yeah.
But in order to like fully like heal, evolve, and ascend, like you kind of you have to look at the dark, and you have to look at the light, and you have to find out like, hey, like, why do I keep going to the dark side? Like, maybe stuff happened to you in like so many past lives that you're just plugged into that belief system, and it's like you don't even realize it. It's just a part of who you are, right? So it's about shifting that mindset for some people, right? So you have to look at it in order to shift it. Otherwise, you just stay the same.
I always reference like the paranormal and the another Empire Strikes Back scene is Luke going into the cave of Dagobah. He has to go into this cave, like it's the dark side strong there, and he has to face it. And of course, Yoda tells him don't take his weapons. Well, he takes his weapons, and what does he get when he gets in there? He gets in a fight with a Darth Vader dark shadow ghost that he fights with. It turns out to be him, but it's like he had to face his darkness. I always point this one out, but it's like he had to face his darkness, but he got back what he took in. He took in his weapons, so he got to fight. You know, it's like we all have to have this kind of spiritual journey where we have to face our inner darkness and fears, and you know, you're going to get what you take at it. If you go in at negative, you're going to get negative back.
Yeah, and it's about being willing to shift that mindset. being willing to shift your beliefs. And, it's like if we go into like ancestral trauma, ancestral patterns, it's about going, hey, like I grew up with this sort of patterning, like being like, oh, like money doesn't grow on trees. And because money's a really big thing that happens with people, right? With beliefs and stuff is, if you grew up with a poor money mindset, then it's kind of like no fault of your own when you're kind of like an adult and you're kind of like find yourself in the same struggles because you grew up with those belief systems. But it's up to you or like us to be like, hey, I can shift this. Like I can change this. I need to change this in order to have like a better life, in order to not have the same sort of lifestyle that I grew up in, type of thing, right? And it's that wanting to better yourself is how we also evolve, right? And heal is going, I need to change this. Like this doesn't have to be me.
We got one last caller. Mike, you called in really late, but I'm going to try to fit in your call if you can make it a quick question. How you doing tonight?
Hey, pretty good. Could she tell me like what my past life was or not?
I don't know if you can tell past lives, can you?
Uh-oh.
I'm just getting a no for now, right now.
What's the matter with?
She's getting a no on that. Maybe it's because you called in the last minute of the show, man.
Oh. Yeah, I felt like she was talking about me for the last like minute or two, And it was another question. You know what I mean? It was weird, and then we got a no on that one. So that was just weird. It was like she was like talking about me or something, and then all of a sudden I asked her a question, and it's like, no.
Well, you were in tune with what she was saying. Well, thank you, Mike, for calling in, man. Call in earlier next time. You have a great night, Mike.
All right.
All right, bye. Well, that's it for the show. What last information you want to get out to the audience where they can find you and if they want to learn more?
Okay. You can find me at joyrachelle.com, Facebook, I'm official Joy Rachelle, on Instagram, I'm Joy Rachelle Official. And my message for you is to follow your, what I call your soul pull. That's pulling you to like your soul destiny, like your soul mission and what you're supposed to do here on planet Earth. And sometimes that can be really scary. And sometimes it's just taking that like leap of faith and saying yes to yourself, and even something that seems scary and digging into it. And that's where like you find fulfillment within yourself and connect to your passion and your creativity. Because I know if I've never gone on this spiritual journey, that I wouldn't be where I am today. And I don't know if I'd even be here, like on planet Earth right now. So, yeah.
No, I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, for me, starting this show 5 years ago was a leap of faith. Like, is anybody going to even listen to me? Is anybody going to watch? Anybody going to care about my weirdness, what I want to talk about? But here we are, and I it's definitely, I get to be my inner self comes out on this show every Sunday night, and it's instant enlightening. It's fulfilling. It's like a soul purpose that I found. So I definitely encourage to follow Joy's advice on that for sure, because I definitely feel that's my life journey here.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Joy, for being on the show. We definitely have to get you again. Next week, guys, is the Halloween show, because our show, that's the last show we have before it's Halloween. So October 25th, join us with Katrina Cooper, spiritual medium, our friend of the show, and Rody Speak, my paranormal mama. Going to join us here. We're going to do some psychic games. We're going to definitely do the ITC. We're definitely going to do that. I might have a special World Wide Web of Weird with some of the best ghost video stuff or photos that we've shown over the last year for this year. I think I did that one for Halloween show. We'll see. We got a lot planned next Sunday, October 25th. Tune in for the Paranormal Soup's official Halloween show. All right, guys, have a great night. See you next week.